Morning shoes on.
I'll be with that.
What's getting a little
Shoe leather.
Ralph, how are
Shoe
you?
leather.
shoes like these?
The old W.
That's so bad.
Everybody needs a pair of shoes like that.
House down.
I did for the Rotary show. I had Tom
You got a haircut.
Summer.
We're going to start in 15 seconds. Get ready.
There was one that had the pump. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yep.
Number 6.
Somebody told you.
Yeah, I know. Young though.
Tinkerbell, that's what it was.
Start in five seconds.
I said, that must have
Trying
been
to
a
live
sight.
that down.
5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
People of today
Here we
still
go.
use, you know.
All right. Welcome, everyone.
No, I'll see him tonight. No.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners. Today is Wednesday, June 27th, 2012. And if you have a cell phone, if you can put it on vibrate or silent, we would appreciate that. We will open the meeting up with the opening ceremonies. And we'll start with the
I'm sorry.
invocation, and Commissioner Lemkool will lead us in the invocation, please.
Oh Lord, we pray that you will always continue to be with us and open our minds and open our hearts, that we may always have you come into ours, and so we might be able to make the best decisions that we possibly can for the community. We pray that you will be with all elected officials in this time of the campaigning and trying to get elected and making sure that we're all giving the right information out. We pray that you also be with all the veterans as they're coming home. Make sure that they have the proper services and help them get jobs so that they might be able to be quality citizens of our community. We pray this in thy holy name. Amen.
Commissioner Lemkool will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, if we can do the roll call attendance, please.
Commissioner Wheelock. Thomas.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Axbauer. Here. Lemkool.
Here.
Henschel.
Yes.
Gilman.
Here.
Fleece.
Present.
Chairman Inman.
Here. And Commissioner Wheelock hopefully will be joining us soon. We will move on to the approval of the minutes. We have two sets. We'll take them one at a time. We need the approval of the May 30th, 2012 regular board.
Move for approval.
Moved by Richardson.
Support.
Seconded by Thomas to approve the May 30th, 2012 minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Now we have the June 14th special joint meeting with the Board of Commissioners and the Commission on Aging. Motion on that.
So
Moved by Commissioner Max Bauer, seconded
No.
by... No? Moved by Commissioner Thomas. Do you have a change?
Yes.
All right, you want to hold your motion?
Sure.
All right, Commissioner Max Bauer.
I don't recall the motion being exactly as the way it's written. I thought that the motion was for, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I thought the motion was for the Board of Commissioners to approve the Commission on Aging being permitted to increase fees up to $350,000.
Correct.
That
And-
wasn't what Commissioner Fleece stated in his motion. That was what was abbreviated after the fact. But this is what Commissioner Fleece made in his motion, but if you want to amend the minutes, that's...
My memory is the same as
It's up to
Christine's.
the motion was to move it up to 350.
To send it back to rework the fee increases.
Yeah, and they could move it any way they wanted to.
But it was
Not to
up,
exceed $350,000.
not to
Not to
exceed
exceed $350,000.
So if you'd like to reword that...
You
I
can-
would
Amend
like
the-
to
amend the minutes?
amend the minutes to show that the Grand Traverse County Board did approve fee increases up to $350,000 as the Commission on Aging Board saw fit.
All right, okay. All right.
But I did have the part in there, like this says.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, more deliberation,
Right.
and that is
Yeah.
in my note to the county board tonight.
All right,
You
okay.
know, we are looking at that, absolutely.
Commissioner Maxwell, could you give me the complete motion as you believe it should have been stated?
Moved by Fleece, seconded by Thomas, that the Board of Commissioners accept the Commission on Aging rate increases up to $350,000. after the Commission on Aging conducts more deliberation on the suggestions given by the Board of Commissioners.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, now we need a motion. That's the motion.
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Sure.
Commissioner Thomas. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right. Thank you. Moving on to public comment, the clerk will read the rules.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners, which is required to be open to the public under the provisions of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluded time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized, and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Okay, you've heard the guidelines for public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time? And again, if you're here for a particular item or topic, we will take your comments at that time as well. Go ahead. Can you introduce yourself?
I will. Good evening. I'm Kirsten Keilitz. I reside at 5055 Hidden Gables Drive, Long Lake Township. I'm a candidate for Grand Traverse County Probate Court Judge. Apologize that I have not been here sooner for a meeting. Our campaigning schedule has been quite rigorous. 15 minutes ago, I was in Stone Ridge Subdivision introducing myself, did a quick change and made it here. I currently serve as a 13th Circuit Court Family Division referee throughout the 13th Circuit and in Grand Traverse County as a juvenile referee. I assist Judge Stowe with his current juvenile delinquency docket as well as his child abuse and neglect proceedings. I was appointed to that position from a field of over 20 candidates in September 2009. So I'm coming up on my 3 years of service to our county and our circuit. And through that time, I've learned that interacting with the public, be it youth, be it families going through difficult issues, that being respectful, listening well, applying the law to the facts of the case, I can change people's lives. And I am born and raised here in Traverse City, and I look on the opportunity to serve as the next Grand Traverse County Probate Court Judge as an opportunity to continue to serve the community that I love. Are there any questions?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Any other member of the public wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will close public comment. And can the minutes reflect that Commissioner Wheelock is in attendance, please? We will now move on to the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes in the agenda? Commissioner Maxwell.
I don't know if this is really a change. I intend to pull from the approvals item number 21, which is support for 2% tribal grant applications. There are...
it would be number 20?
Yes.
Number 20, okay.
And I would like to add an application from the Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging. And also Garfield Township last night gave their support for a grant application for conflict resolution services, and I will be including that in item number 21, or
Okay.
would you like it under new business?
New business.
New business? Okay, then I would like to amend the agenda under new business.
And new business would be the...
Number 2.
The Garfield Township resolution?
The conflict resolution services application for 2% money, and
Okay.
the Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging 2%
Okay.
application.
Okay, all right. And Dave, you have an item to add to your administrator's report?
Yes, you had this on your desks, a letter to the chair from Karen Rosa, supervisor of Long Lake Township, to discuss an intergovernmental agreement for stormwater control.
Okay. So we'll add that as number 5. And I just want to clarify item number 20 for the board. Chris, although we had 2 different motions at 2 different meetings, one motion was to pass the applications forward, and the other motion the following week was not to become the fiscal agent. And what she did is she combined both those motions in one resolution under item number 20, just for your attention. Commissioner Max Bauer.
I'll pull item number 20,
Yeah,
please.
all right, when we get there.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So,
Chairman,
we
I would
have-
move to approve the
Thank you.
agenda as amended.
All right. Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Henschel, to approve the agenda as amended, and that would be adding item number 5, Administrator's Report, and number 2 under new business. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right, we have an agenda. We have no special orders of business. We will now move on to the reading of the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. 1, correspondence regarding the Grand Traverse Pavilions dated June 7th. 2, Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency minutes of March 15th, 2012. 3, Area Agency on Aging of Northwest Michigan minutes of April 5th, 2012. 4, Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency minutes of April 19th, 2012. 5, Northwest Regional Airport Commission minutes of April 24th, 2012. 6, Grand Traverse County Department of Human Services Board minutes of April 27th, 2012. 7, Board of Public Works Special Finance Committee minutes of May 7th, 2012. 8, Board of Public Works minutes of May 10th, 2012. 9, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health minutes of May 17th, 2012. 10, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of May 29th, 2012. Referrals, none. Approvals. The Public Health and Safety Committee did not meet this month. Resource Management Administration Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. 11, 2012-2013 Victim Rights Agreement. 12, AAA Grant for Traffic Safety. 13, Resource Recovery 2012 Hauler Licenses. 14, Health Department Amendment to Staffing Plan and Classification Plan. Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. 15, Risk Avoidance Program, RAP, Grant for NOVA Training. 16, Budget Adjustments. 17, GIS Enhanced 9/11 Act Grant Program. 18, Equalization Study Contract. 19, 2012 Tax Rate Request, L4029. 20, Support for 2% Tribal Grant Applications.
All right. The consent calendar has been presented. Does any member of the public wish to pull any of the items on the consent calendar for further discussion? Seeing none, does any of the commission members, Commissioner Max Bauer, you had an item?
Item number 20, please.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item number 20.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Max Bauer.
Yes.
Lemko.
Yes.
Henschel.
Yes.
Gilman.
Yes.
Fleece.
Yes.
Wheelock.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Inman.
Yes. All right, that leads us to items removed from the consent calendar. That was one item. That was the support of the 2% tribal grant application. Again, just clarification, the resolution addressed both the first motion at a committee of the whole and the actions of the subsequent committee of the whole. She combined in both resolutions. That is item number 20. And before we get into that, I would like to at least provide some time for our civil counsel, Bob Cooney, just to give us an introduction to his lawful county expenditure memorandum that he has on our desk. That he did spend quite an amount of time. We want to thank him all this amount of work in a relatively short period of time. So, it was the question of the grant applications that came in, which ones would be lawful in terms for county expenditures and which ones would not be. And Bob did take a look at that, and Bob, if you'd like to address that if you wish.
Sure, and it was Chairman Inman that asked me on Tuesday morning if I could review all of the grant applicants and the...
Bob, could you
speak up a little bit louder in the microphone?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm a little hard of
That was
hearing.
Chairman Inman that asked me on Tuesday if I could review all the grant applications and determine whether or not any of them or all of them were lawful county expenditures, meaning that if the county wanted to perform the service themselves, that they could do that. And what I looked at is whether there was some statutory basis for the county to spend that money for the purpose designated in the grant. I sent out a draft memorandum that did not specifically address the purposes of the grants because I hadn't reviewed those at that point. I'd simply indicated whether there was a statutory basis for the general purposes of the agencies involved. This final draft of the memorandum does address the specific purposes of each grant application as I understand them, although I got the information from Chris Kramer, not from reviewing the grants myself because of time limitations. So anyway, what I determined essentially is that most of these agencies do perform services that, as requested in their grant applications, would be lawful expenditures of the county. For example, I don't think it's a stretch the Commission on Aging would qualify since it's a department of the county. The Grand Traverse Pavilions, because the county is obligated to provide for a medical care facility. The Traverse Health Clinic, TC At-Risk Boxing, and several others. There are a few that, because of the stated purposes of the grants, they would need to be tailored so that they only allow for services that would be lawful county expenditures. And there were a few applications that I could not find any statutory authority for those.
Which one
Coast
was
Guard
it?
City Committee was one of those.
Which one were, okay, the Coast Guard?
Yes. Although I did indicate that it would be lawful, I believe, for the city to have submitted that grant application because that grant seems to be aimed at promoting the city of Traverse City as opposed to the county. So, and both the county and city do have authority under statute to promote economic development. So, and that would be the purpose that is legally justified for those expenses. The other thing that you should know is that this is a bit of a change from the procedure. You know, I guess it's not as simple as saying that, okay, we can fund certain grants and we can't fund others. This is a change in the procedure that the county board has followed in past years, in that I do indicate that the tribe would have to agree that the county has complete discretion over the expenditures of the funds. It's my understanding that in the past, the county board submits the grants that the committee feels should be funded and the amounts to the tribe, and then the tribe makes the final determination. I think that in order for this to be a proper expense, the county would have to make those determinations itself, and for most of these agencies, there would have to be a properly negotiated contract to make sure that we are being provided services that the county could provide itself. So
Okay.
that's it in a nutshell.
All right, okay. So we have that poll. Commissioner Maxwell, you have the floor.
Well, I guess, are there any applicants, and this is on my desk tonight, so I have not read it, Bob, and I'm sorry. Are there any applicants who we may not lawfully submit for?
The agencies that I was unable to find any statutory basis for providing the funds would be Grand Traverse Dyslexia Association, which, by the way, I believe the application could have been submitted through TBA ISD or the school district, but not the county, because
Okay.
the school districts are, of course, authorized to provide literacy and those types of services.
Okay.
So, but not the county, as far as I know.
Okay.
The Coast Guard City Committee, which I already mentioned, the SEEDS grant, and the Child and Family Services Helping Children Heal program.
Bob, one question on the seeds. The county commission did sign an agreement with Seeds on energy efficiency, lighting, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and
through other grants, so we've
and I mentioned in there that as far as providing energy assessment services for the county, I do believe that that's authorized by statute.
Okay.
The problem is, the reason for the grant request is to provide money for the Seeds Youth Conservation Corps. And as I understand it, and of course it's a wonderful cause, but it basically would have high school age children, I believe, educated to provide energy assessments, and they would provide those assessments to adult households in Grand Traverse County, as well as including Grand Traverse County or Grand Traverse band members.
Okay.
And the problem, the difference is that on the one hand, the energy assessments are for county facilities, and on the other hand, the services are being provided for private individuals, whoever those energy assessments are done for. And the statutory basis for the county to have energy assessments would be under 4611, which is the county's authority to maintain and take care of its own facilities.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Baxbauer, do you have any other questions?
Well,
Comments?
the motion at committee was just to forward grant applications directly to the Grand Traverse Band.
That was one committee, and then the next
Right.
week, we voted not to be the fiscal agent.
Right.
And then what you did is combine both of them in one resolution.
I am not going to support that.
Okay.
I believe that we need to be the fiscal agent for the organizations that are lawful.
Okay, all right.
So
Bob?
I'm not going to support
All right.
that.
Real quick question, Bob. Procedurally, when we have something come in as a consent calendar, if you can remind me, do we need to either vote that up or down, or can another commissioner just make a different motion and it just never is acted upon?
Well, the vote in this case would be whether or not to approve the recommendation of the committee, and I think you need to vote either up or down on that.
On that resolution as
And then
submitted?
If that fails, you could
Submit another
commissioner
motion.
could make
All right.
another motion.
All right, Commissioner Richardson.
Bob, I had a question. As far as the reviewing the grant applications, I mean, in light of your, rather detailed memo here, does it make more sense for us to use the grant application process as a way to see if the grant applications fit into the model that we should be doing? In other words, do they fit into actually what would be considered county business? The applications would come to us, we'd convene the subcommittee as we've done before, and then if a group came along and said, well, this is what we want to do, we would say, well, that's not really county business, you should take this application and talk to, as you said, TBAISD or the city of Traverse City or whatever.
Well, I think if you're going to go through this process again, what would make sense is to forward the grants to our office so that we can review each of them and maybe make those types of comments. Because there are some of these agencies that I discussed where third level crisis is one of them, where, you know, some of the services they provide, the county could provide itself. However, there are other services such as indigent legal defense other than criminal defense, which the county, I don't believe, has statutory authority to do that. And so, you know, we could give that advice to the grant maker that you might want to limit the grant, or we could just simply advise the board that you could approve funds only for those activities that the agency performs that are lawful county expenditures.
Okay. All right, does any...
Answer your question?
All right, Commissioner Wheelock.
I guess, you know, I had a quick minute this afternoon to read Bob's email, which had this reference into it. He describes what sound to be rather complex contracts that would have to be drafted with some of these organizations in order to qualify for the money. Is that correct?
I don't know about complex. The main intent of the contract is to assure that the intent of the contract is to provide a service that is lawful, a lawful county expenditure. You know, it would take some time to prepare all of these contracts for all, well, there are at least, we might be down to about 10 contracts that would need to be prepared. They'd all be fairly similar except stating the specific purpose of the grant.
Well, I'm inclined to think that, you know, to ask our staff to prepare 10 contracts so as that we can be the fiscal agent for this grant. Up until 2009, Grand Traverse Band made these payments directly to the organizations. Did not pass that money through Grand Traverse County. And, you know, I've said over and over and over it wasn't being handled correctly, and it's still not being handled correctly. And if we continue to, after we've been put on notice that the way we're handling it is wrong, if we continue to handle it that way, shame on us. You know, we have been put on notice. As far as I'm concerned, you know, I believe the motion is appropriate in that we forwarded all of the applications. That's what we've done for 10 years, is forwarded all the applications. In 2009, they started wanting us to interview and rank them, which is what we did. Up until then, there was no such process. So the idea that, you know, we're going to pick and choose out of the applications that we've approved and sent forward which ones now qualify, that just seems foolish to me. And to spend a bunch of time preparing contracts for money which there's a lot of question whether or not we should be handling in the first place, just seems like a waste of our staff and county money.
All right. Commissioner Wheelock. Or excuse me,
No,
Commissioner
I already
Richardson.
did my part.
But the problem is, Sonny, is that if we don't act as a fiscal agent, I get the sense that the tribe may just, you know, let the whole thing go. And all we're hurting are the nonprofits that have been, you know, depending on this money. And, I mean, if it's just a simple case of verifying that there is a legal county function and then, you know, creating a fairly simple contract, that doesn't sound like that much work to do, to make it work. And possibly over time we can be a little more sophisticated in it.
No, we have to get a lot better with the 2013 compact, there's no question.
Commissioner Lemkool.
Yeah, you know, I think I'd like to see it, you know, my concern is going the next step. Because anytime you have a granting agency that gives money away, you should get a report back from that agency telling you exactly how they use that money, what kind of results they got when they got it taken care of. And so that's a time that's really going to hit us for more time. And my concern is whether or not we should get some sort of an administrative fee to cover our cost, to be able to do these types of programs. If we're going to be a fiscal agent for 10 different organizations and we got to write contracts, we're going to have to call them in. We're going to have to sit here and listen to them as to telling us how they spent that money, what kind of results they got from that money, and whether or not we would want to give that organization money again next time around. So when we start looking at time, all of a sudden costs start to go up. I know Bob spent a lot of time on doing this already, trying to research it and determine what it is. So I'm concerned about what it's going to do to our staff and to the commission and to the people that are receiving these grants and how that's going to be done. Because we've given this money away and we've never asked for any kind of a review of any of these grants.
Not true.
We as Grand Traverse County have requested these? I just don't remember.
All right, now we'll call on Commissioner Maxbauer, and then we'll call on Commissioner Gilman.
Several years ago, I submitted a grant application for scholarships for children, disadvantaged children, to learn to swim. And the Grand Traverse Band was kind enough to award Grand Traverse County $7,500 for that program. And we were required to submit a report to the Grand Traverse Band with the results of that program. And the county submitted that report. The Parks Department submitted that report.
But it didn't come to us. We're the ones that are doing the grants.
I understand that, but there is a public record of that report.
But
And
not here.
I don't know, I can't speak for other organizations, but I do know that when I've been involved, the county has submitted a report, and it's been required by law. So there are reports out there. I don't know, why they haven't come here or whether they need to come here.
Well, if we have a contract, they're going to have to come here.
Yeah.
Are you all set, Commissioner Maxwell?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
Commissioner Gilman.
Bob, how much time do you have into investigating these particular applications at this point?
Well, I was given pretty short notice to prepare, so I spent, maybe 6-8 hours investigating each of the grant applications. And then last week, I was asked the question whether we could, I prepared the memo explaining.
So it's not just a few minutes of glancing over and just assuming anything, you're actually following up, you're spending some time on these. Commissioner Lemkool's point, Mr. Chairman, is, I think it's pretty appropriate. We are spending time, and I think I don't think it necessarily contradicts with what Commissioner Maxbauer said. I mean, if she had to turn in a report and it came through the county, well, we're doing it, and we're using up our time even now. And going back to something that Commissioner Wheelock had said, up until 2009, we weren't a part of the process. The fact that we would have to have multiple contracts, or we'd have to ensure some kind of compliance so that these particular contributions met some form of what we do, is a complicated process. I mean, and that kind of leads me to believe that passing this and just giving it back to them and letting them deal with it until we have a better understanding what the compact truly is and how we are supposed to be a part of it, this is probably the better way to do it for the time being, at least this year.
Commissioner Henschel.
I look at the list of these organizations and, I think about the good they do in our community, and, I think of the value that brings in our community. Commissioner Maxbauer said a great quote from her that, dollar for dollar, they can outperform government any day of the week because they use volunteers, they use people that are passionate about what they do. It's what they choose to do, not just to earn a living. These people are they're giving their all to that. And, I look at this list, and obviously there needs to be a change in how this is done. And I think this issue has come to a point where that it's going to change next time. But for the right now, I don't see it as just a cut black and white situation. I think we have to deal with the now appropriately And I don't think we can just throw this back in their lap and say, deal with it. I think for the now, I think we need to work with them. And I will make a motion to accept the resolution supporting 2% travel grant applications with the edit to the final sentence to read, instead of Grand Traverse County will not be the fiscal agent for spring 2012 grant cycles, that it would read, Grand Traverse County will only be fiscal agent for grants which are determined to be legitimate county expenditures for Grand Traverse County.
I'll support that.
Okay, I think that's an acceptable motion based on the resolution on the floor. Lee?
Well,
I think so, because no one's moved.
No one's moved to approve the original or the original resolution, okay. So we have a motion on the floor to accept the applications and to be the fiscal agent where governmental expenditures would be lawfully allowed. And then we would just proceed in whatever procedure is necessary to do that. And then we could contact TBA and the city, to help facilitate that process if that's available to them. All right, discussion on the motion. We'll go with Wheelock and then Thomas.
Well, a couple points. First, who's going to be responsible to determine which of these grants and the services provided or requested in the grants are deemed to be county expenditures?
Well, I've already got her. Bob Cooney is working on it already. So
All right, the second question is, what are you going to do with the ones that don't qualify? And how are you going to make the time frame? Because that money is to be distributed, is it by the 15th of July, Dean? Do you remember?
I've heard it's by June 30th.
By June 30th. And there's no way between now and June 30th, we're going to have the ability to evaluate these applications, get contracts in place to where we can legally receive this money.
All right, who is next? Commissioner Thomas.
Maybe I missed part of what Commissioner Wheelock said, but I would like to see these agencies provide their own contracts rather than have us do it for them. I'd like to see that added to the motion.
Point of clarification.
I'm not sure it works. Well,
how would you feel about that, Bob? They prepared it rather than us. I mean, I think we would.
Sometimes it could be more work trying to.
Yeah, fix what I guess I'm not in favor of that. I'd just soon have Bob prepare the structured contract, and then once we get the structured contract, the model in place, he could just fit it in. Commissioner Max Bauer.
I just think if we don't approve Commissioner Henschel's motion, we're going to cripple some agencies that do an extraordinary amount of good. And I will tell you, I had 2 conversations with the tribal chairman yesterday, and he asked us to try and fix this, do whatever we can. And I committed to that, and that's why I supported your motion, Commissioner Henschel.
Okay. All right, I have a comment, but I'll just continue to go with the board. We got Commissioner Gilman and Commissioner Lemko.
I'm going to support the motion because it's a good halfway in between, if there's a way to make it work. We do have the time already spent, for the most part, identifying which ones are going to be lawful. So I think we're more than halfway there. I think that's appropriate. I don't think, though, that any agency that is relying on grants is, particularly for these particular type of grants, I mean, that's, if this is what they're depending on for their survival, and you're talking about crippling, well, this is as much, when they go and they're selecting these things, this is as much a pull of the slot machine as what it comes from, so.
No pun intended.
Well, pun actually, much intended.
But you can't pull the rug out from under organizations in 3 days. I mean, it's not right.
I really do think there is some legitimacy to what Commissioner Wheelock's concerns are, whether or not we should be handling it, whether it should be funneled through our system, but this is a good halfway point for right now, and we need to move forward.
All right, Commissioner Lemko.
Just a couple of things, I think as that somehow if we're going to be giving out these contracts and we're going to have these grants, we need to have these reports brought back to us. So I don't know how we can have that entered into some sort of, maybe it should be part of the contract that's written, that if the expenditure of funds, that the report must come to us along with the tribal. I'm looking at the grant application form here, and I thought it was kind of interesting, just on their front page, what talks about the type of applicant. Local government, local court, township, public school district, public library, county commissioner, college, sheriff, police department, road commission, charter school, and fire department. Nowhere in there talks about nonprofits. So nonprofits shouldn't even be allowed under this application to apply for these grants.
They never should have been able to collect money under the 2% money. It is not in compliance with the consent agreement or the compact.
Right. So I'm just...
If I could just make clear, you know, in my memo, I'm not trying to suggest that these grants are in compliance with the compacts. I'm simply indicating whether the county board has lawful authority to make these expenditures of funds.
I'm just saying is that when I look at this contract, it doesn't talk about anybody with nonprofit that even can apply. So they got to apply through one of those arenas, and what they're doing is they're trying to go around it by coming to the county commission and then asking us to do these grants when it's not even, according to the tribe contract, it's not even available.
All right. Well, my comment is that, as Commissioner Maxwell indicated, you know, we're rounding third, heading home, and all of a sudden the rules appeared to be changing. And, you know, and we painted, the state has somewhat painted the tribe and the county in a corner at the last minute. And we've got a lot of needed agencies out there that have applied and have continued to be funded by these tribal grants that are critical to the community and their needs. And I guess from the starting point, my intention, just as one single commissioner, is to see if it was possible to somehow come to a resolution. And Bob spent a lot of time, I appreciate his time and effort on this, and I spent a lot of time on the phone with the Gaming Commission, and as well as Al, the tribal chairman, and their attorney, Bill Rastatter. And I think this was the best solution that we could come up with after having discussions with all three entities. And so that's why I attempted to have at least an option for us to review at tonight's meeting, which I believe we should do and put our best foot forward, representing the community, saying, you know, we're willing to be a partner and help on this thing. And if the rules change based on anything changing in their compacts with the state of Michigan in 2013, that I just let the tribe deal with that. But I think at least for this round, I think we should do what we can, even if it costs a little time and effort, to see if we can get, if not all, but most of them through. And it sounds like most of them would go through. A couple of them we would probably have to ask TVA in the city to consider making the application. And if there's another way the other ones can be submitted, that's fine. But I would be supporting this motion. Commissioner Fleece.
Bob, who issued the June 30th deadline?
Well, you know, I was trying to find the compact or the stipulation of the court, because I think that's probably where the deadline is for when the 2% has to be paid. I don't know how important that deadline is. Frankly, I don't think, I guess the tribe would not be in compliance with payment of the 2% grants if it didn't spend the money by that date or give the money to the local units by that date. But frankly, it would take a lawsuit by the governor of the state of Michigan in order to enforce that. So, you know, I'm not sure how important that deadline is.
All right. Any other comments from the commissioners until I open up? Okay. Does any member of the public wish to speak on this item before we vote? Yes, Ralph, come on up.
In my
If you
previous
could
life...
introduce yourself again. I know everybody
Pardon?
knows you.
Ralph Sofferdini, 220 Huron Street. In my previous life, the city commission has the Coast Guard, and the city group is an official committee of the city. It was set up by ordinance for the city, so I would think that they would fall under that condition. And maybe you just couldn't get that information in their grant, but they are the part of the city of Traverse City, one of our committees.
All right, thank you, Ralph. Appreciate that. Anybody else in the public wish to speak on this matter at this time? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any other comments by commissioners before we vote? We have a motion on the floor by Max Bauer, supported by...
No, it was by Henschel, supported by Max Bauer.
Max Bauer, to approve the applications as presented, as long as they are lawfully a governmental expenditure. Does that conclude your motion?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if I could make a recommendation as to the motion, it would be to approve grants that are lawful county expenditures as outlined in my memo dated June 27th, and also to allow civil council to negotiate contracts with the agencies that are approved as lawful county expenditures. And as a third part of that motion, it would be, this is contingent upon the tribal council's agreement to allow the county to be the final decision maker as far as who gets the grants to give the county authority to enter into these contracts, because that is different than the way the process has been followed in past years. And that's it.
Okay. Does the motion maker agree?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right. Okay. And the second agrees?
And that's what I supported.
All right. And we have discussion, Commissioner Gilman.
Well, just, before we vote, I just want to clarify that. I mean, my understanding of the motion originally was that essentially we will approve those things that are lawful. There was a question, of course, what is left? Must we negotiate for the rest, or should we just send them back and let the tribe handle that? And that would be the halfway that I would be preferably dealing with.
All right, Commissioner Max Bauer.
The Grand Traverse Band does have the authority to make grants outside the 2% money. So
they could deal with it in that
they
manner.
can.
Well, I guess my question is then, if this motion prevails, you have been authorized to negotiate with, we'll say, Seeds, for example, to come up with a contract that fits the use of the county. Is that?
Well, actually, Seeds is not one of the grants that
it is not.
I believe
Commission
would
on
be
Aging.
lawful.
So it would be those,
The
just be
Sheriff's
to
Department.
clarify, those who are lawful under the county.
Yeah, actually, the Commission on Aging, I did indicate that no contract was required just because it's a department of the county. But for example, the Grand Traverse Pavilions, I would only negotiate as far as making sure that the language of the contract specifies that it will be for the equipment that was specifically requested in the grant. Now, there are a couple of these, like Third Level Crisis Center, where I indicated that the broad purposes of the grant application, not all of those purposes fit
So they must be
lawful
narrowed.
county expenditure. So I would narrow it down to those expenditures that are lawful.
Excellent. Okay.
All right.
And I would also agree to go ahead and send these other grant applications, the Coast Guard City Committee, for example, back to that organization and the city with a letter to them indicating that I believe the tribe could pass the money through the city to the Coast Guard City Committee. Same thing with the Dyslexia Association.
To the TBA, right?
Okay. All right, Commissioner Henschel.
Yeah, that really was, I didn't want to put too many moving parts into the motion to make it too complicated, but I think
That's exactly
Oh,
what
come on,
staff
where's
should-
your spirit of adventure?
I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I think staff should feel free to make those suggestions to the tribe on those, if they want to do an educational grant, TCAPS or the ISD, or, just point them in the right direction, but, we'll do what we can on the county stuff.
All right, any other comments before we have a vote? Everybody understand the motion? All right, a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Richardson,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Wheelock,
No.
Thomas.
Well, I'm opposed to this part of it, for us to be the
Fiduciary.
yeah, you got it. But because of the fact that we're so late and these should be moved along because they were in history, so I'll vote yes.
Chairman Inman.
Yes. Motion passes with 1 nay. All right. Moving on, that's all the items for the folded consent calendar. Moving on to the administrator's report. Dave, you have the floor.
Let's see here. We have a resolution for you in opposition to the proposed rate increase for,
Can you talk a little louder in your microphone?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We have a resolution for, in opposition to the proposed rate increase for private foster care agencies.
Yes.
And a claim summary, Septic Treatment Facility Series 2003 refunding. You have a copy of the letter in your packet. We have a deficit elimination plan for 2011 for the Septic Facility Fund, and a new item that was added tonight from Long Lake Township regarding stormwater control for that township. We have an agreement that is actually expiring. It expired, and we need to get some action on that.
So why don't we start with item number 1? And I believe that was sent back to get some discussion with the probate court area to see what their opinion was on that. I don't know if we had time to do that or not.
I'll take this one if Dave doesn't mind. And Greg Brainerd is here. You wanted additional information on what impact this would have on Grand Traverse County. These are expenditures that we incur in our child care fund. Greg provided the summary, which is the table, and we're projecting that it would increase our child care fund cost by $15,840 with that rate increase. We have retooled the resolution. The one that was from Van Buren was a lot more weighty than this. So there is a cost to the county through our child care fund if this rate increase is approved. So we wanted to keep this short and sweet. Greg can explain how we came up with the numbers if you so choose, but we have provided you with our resolution in opposition of the proposed rate increase.
All right, Commissioner Lemkool.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution in opposition of proposed rate increases for private foster care agencies.
Second. All right, moved by Commissioner Lemkool, second by Commissioner Henschel to approve the resolution as presented. Discussion among commissioners. Commissioner Gilman.
I just want to know where the rate increase came from. I want to know.
The panic button.
What is the explanation that it was brought up in the first place? I mean, again, I'm not seeing enough information here. Was there a legitimate reason for? Please, I would defer to anybody who has some more information than I have.
Commissioner Max Bauer, you have anything?
Well, this rate increase, this was a resolution, if I'm not mistaken.
By another county.
By another county. And it was an astronomical rate increase that had no explanation, and I tried to research it on the internet without success. As far as I know, the state of Michigan pulled this out of thin air, and no private business would stay in business with this kind of increase, and so I just asked us to support the resolution.
In lieu of the services that are provided by the foster care by the private agencies, where are our alternatives? And do we have sufficient alternatives? And is that the reason why we are, why there is an increase, is to keep sufficient resources outside of our internal agencies?
All right, Dave, you have something?
Yeah, this has been around for a long time. This keeps coming up. There's a senator down in the Grand Rapids area that's very fond of this, because everybody in all the foster care kids in Grand Rapids are in private agencies. And so he's always looking for large increases in their rates. DHS provides foster care agencies with DHS workers, and the more they push these rate increases, and what they're trying to do is push lots more people into private agencies, and the judges are absolutely opposed to this. They can talk to DHS workers, they can, they can call them on the carpet, they can do all kinds of things with DHS workers that they can't do with private agencies. Those are businesses. And so they've always been opposed to those things. So in this case, it was a very large increase, and we all get stuck with the bill. And the reason that, another reason counties generally oppose this is that DHS workers are paid 50% by the state, and we pay the other 50% of the child care fund dollars. Whereas with private agencies, they shift it all to the county. So it's a
Right.
It's a money thing.
But the care, I mean, just, and please stop me if I'm going off track or if I'm wrong, but the care provided by a private agency, which is typically what we're talking about, are family homes. Is that that's what we're talking about, is going to be a little more personal and a little more appropriate, I think.
But you have to.
For long term than
All right, let him speak, and then we'll
a
call
government
it
agency.
emergency.
Am I wrong?
This is the administrative fee, okay? So you have an agency that is keeping track of these kids, okay? This isn't the fee that's being paid to the families who take care of the kids. These are the fees for the agency that's keeping track of the kids. It's a private agency instead of DHS. I think our administrator's point is that the judges would rather deal with DHS, the public employee, rather than a private agency that really,
And they've increased the fee for us, not for
increases the
themselves.
fee for, that we have to pay. Just for the
I
administration.
understand the
It's the cost of
difference
the
in
child
cost,
care
the
funds of
county
the
and the state.
counties,
I do understand that part. I'm just trying to, and so this is the administrative fee for the people who actually handle the placement, not the families themselves.
Right.
Correct. All right.
Can we hear from Greg?
Is everyone all set?
Can we hear from Greg?
Yeah, I wanted to. Greg, do you want to make a remark?
Oh, boy. I was going to say, yeah, both Greg and Kirsten here.
You're welcome to, or if you do, please introduce yourself.
Greg Brainerd, Administrator of Family Court. I think Mr. Richardson's got it pretty accurate in terms of what you're talking about, and what Mr. Benda has reflected as well. And the numbers that I tried to reflect and what you're seeing in Traverse County is that in the last few years, all of the foster situations were handled by privates. Starting last fall, with the switch and some of the political pressures that go with it, DHS started licensing more of the homes. And so on the graph, if you look at, again, where I've got the second column on the right, the family foster bed days, most of these homes are children going in with family members. So it's grandpa and grandma, it's Uncle Charlie, it's whoever. And DHS is licensing that home as opposed to going through the private process. In that case, you save the $37 administrative rate per day.
And you keep the child in the family.
And typically, it's with a family member, an extended family member. I'm not here to, I guess, debate the goods and bads of that. But,
Sorry.
So that's the number that you're seeing projected this year, that those would have no administrative rate. So any increase in that, those cases wouldn't be impacted. It does impact the privates and their administrative rates that they look at. The other, I guess, issue I can clarify, in the original resolution, there was some verbiage about 5, 6 kids in a SIB ship in one home, and it was proposing maybe that was a pretty high rate that family would be, or excuse me, the agency would be getting for the administrative rate for each child. In Grand Traverse County, the maximum that we have is 3 children in the home at this time. There's no rule or law against that, it's just we don't have that situation.
Okay, all right.
Happy to answer any other questions.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, Commissioner Henschel.
Greg, what's best for the kids?
I'm not sure we've got the time.
Okay.
And that's a multifaceted answer, I guess, would be the best way I could answer it tonight.
Ask the judge, though.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? So, Commissioner Lomco.
I did send this to Dawn McLaughlin at DHS, and she sent me back the thing that she could not respond, that she was sending it down to her boss. So she didn't have time to give me a comment.
All right. Any members of the public wish to speak on this item? All right. We have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right, item number 2, claim summary.
Go ahead.
Our claims for the month of June total $7,180,941.63, and I'm asking for your approval of the claims.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Fleece to approve the claims as presented. Any discussion? Commissioner Gilman, you have a question?
No.
Okay, all right. Any members of the public? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Max Bauer,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Whitlock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas,
Yep.
Richardson,
Yes.
Chairman Edmonds.
Yes, motion passes. Next item is the septic treatment facility series 2003 bond refunding. Item number, it's under administrator report, page 4. Dean, you, I don't know who wants to attack this, Dave or Dean. I know that you and I were working on this throughout.
Well, we just, as was recommended by Mr. Benda, we wanted to provide the township supervisors with a schedule of what that bond refunding would look like for the larger of the 2 septage facility bonds. And you can see that if we're going to look at a refunding of those bonds, it's a pretty tight timetable with basically most of those approvals initially, those have to be in place by the end of August.
Okay.
And this information was provided to the township supervisors, and I see a couple of them are in attendance this evening, but Bill and I will be bringing some information back to you at Ways and Means, and we are working with our bond counsel on this issue.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners? Any questions or comments from the public? Yes. Welcome, Supervisor Chuck Horn from Garfield Township. Also have Rod Manigold from Peninsula Township. Welcome.
Good evening, all. Saw the plan to refund, and I'm relatively familiar with that process. What we were more interested in, and had hoped to accomplish, is to actually call the bond ourselves. For each of us to put in a percentage as determined by the contract, and take that bond right off the market and handle it as our own investment. We currently have investments that are returning less than 0.5%. So I think we could help the township treasury and save the plant money as well. We would encourage the county commission with your treasurer's blessing to use whatever funds he feels comfortable with to carry a portion of that as well.
Okay. As an investor. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Rob, do you have anything?
Well,
I guess I'm here mostly, I watched the tape of the last meeting, and there were so many inconsistencies. I have some concerns. We have been working diligently to get this. We have, it's a community problem that's been going on since 2005, and I think everyone needs to get together and get the solution. And it's been a hard road to go because of the different layers of government. You own it. We're guaranteeing it. The DPW makes the decisions, which spends our money, which is under you. There's so many different layers that somebody's got to draw a line in the sand and say, I think the voters deserve it. Let's get this thing settled one way or the other. And we've been meeting with the the rural townships for the last several months, and I think you all received a letter after we looked at our projections of where we're going to be, that we were requesting refunding, having you refinance the bond, which would actually take about $2,000 or $200,000 roughly off the payment. You're only getting 1% on that delinquent tax money now, where we could pay you more, which would be a win for all of us, greatly reduce what the shortfall will be, and I don't want to say eliminate the need for an assessment, but greatly make you think about it.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything back. We've been working, and when I watched the tape, and we didn't build this to make money. And it was asked for by the people in the community that handle the septic. They couldn't dump it on the fields anymore. Nobody wanted it in their backyard. All the laws were getting tighter. And you all know where we've been. Last year was the first year we actually lost money, about $110,000. Now we've got $71,000. And this is the first year we don't have a Bay Harbor, we don't have a lawsuit. So that 110 could be, Chuck, what, 400 is our projection, under 400. And you can see by taking 200,000 off that to get us shorter, it makes it more of a problem that we could solve with an easier solution.
Okay. Just a clarification, I don't believe we received any letter from the townships or the Board of Public Works on this item.
It came from Glenn Lyle, delivered them to your office.
Did we get something that was distributed?
All of, I know that the 5 guaranteeing townships asked you to run the different scenarios, so we would have something to look at.
Yeah.
And
that may have went right to Dean, though, I think.
Well, those letters were included in your committee packets.
All right, okay. I guess I don't recall them.
Okay.
So Dean's done some work with you on that.
Well, we had Long Lake, Green Lake, Union, Whitewater, a lot of we're all trying to work together to solve the problem. And we'd like your help doing it too, to finally put this thing to rest.
I remember the letter now. I remember that letter now. Okay. That was an encouragement to try to assist in the bond where it would be beneficial to.
We were looking for different scenarios, whether to refinance and how to do it.
And the savings from refunding the bond are not that significant.
Okay. All right. Have you come to a, Dean, are we getting close to a conclusion on what the recommendation, the final recommendation is going to be with this group and working with you?
No, if you recall, when Bill and I discussed this last week, we really weren't directed by the board to go in any direction on this. So what was recommended was that we look at a timetable so we know what we're up against, and we do need to all be on the same page with this. Bill and I can look at a call of this bond, but we don't know, Bill and I, what the townships are willing to contribute towards that. So we all need to get together and determine what we're able to do with that bond issue.
All right, okay. Commissioner Max Bauer and Commissioner Fleece.
I'm going to recommend that the 5 guaranteeing township supervisors sit down with the county finance director and the county treasurer and bring back a recommendation to the county board. If we can save taxpayer dollars And certainly at a 0.5%, we're not, nobody's, winning races with that. But we do all need to work together. My only concern is, while Garfield Township, Peninsula Township, East Bay Township, and Elmwood Township have committed funds, Acme Township has not. And I have to tell you, that bothers me. We are all in this together, or we're not. And that needs to be addressed when, in my opinion, when the 5 townships sit down with the finance director and the county treasurer and bring back something so that we can all be, we are all in this together, whether we like it or not. And, so let's work together and see what is in the best interest. It is what it is.
Okay. Commissioner, please.
It's my understanding by what you said tonight that the 5 guaranteeing townships wish to recall the bonds if possible rather than anything else. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion, as I spoke about last week. I think it's paramount that the 5 guaranteeing townships, the treasurer and the finance officer get together, discuss this issue, and just like Christine said, bring it back to the board. So my motion will be that we authorize staff to meet with the 5 guaranteeing township supervisors and come up with the best case scenario for all involved and report back to the board ASAP.
I'll
Moved by
support
Fleece,
that.
Seconded by Max Bauer. Discussion. We got Commissioner Wheelock and then Lemko.
Okay, I have no problem with having the meeting. I really don't. I guess my questions, and you guys and I have seen a lot of each other in all of these meetings over the years, but we never seem to get a whole lot closer than we are, most of the time. One of the concerns that I have is when we talk about calling this bond, it's a sizable piece of money. But when we talk about calling this bond, I sometimes get the perception that the townships are assuming that the county will finance the call of this bond. My question is, and what I want to see as part of this discussion, is how much each of those 5 townships are willing to bring in cash toward the calling of that bond. Because a lot of discussion has been had, well, the county can pay it out of their delinquent tax fund or something like that, because we're not getting much in revenue as far as the interest for that. But, this is, we can go into the whole history of how we got here, but it doesn't matter. We're here. So now we just have to figure out, how do we pay for it? How do we operate it? I still believe treating septic is the right thing to do. But what I want to see when we come out of this meeting is I want to see a true commitment by those 5 townships to actually commit cash toward the calling of those bonds.
And we don't have a commitment for
if we
that
don't,
right now.
we have to have that from those 5 guaranteeing townships in order to move forward with this discussion.
At our last meeting, if I could answer that, we did, Acme, at least Mr. Clatter, made a commitment to cover his portion. So I know he's still got to go back and deal with his board.
Commissioner Lemko?
Yeah,
and Commissioner Gill.
when we had a discussion last week, they talked about 2 different bonds. That there was a larger bond and a smaller bond, and how these are being handled. I don't want to look at just one bond. I want to look at the whole thing.
The other one isn't callable for another year. The little one isn't callable.
But the thing of it is that we can look at what we're going to do this year, but what are we going to do next year? And I think that has to be part of the discussion.
I agree.
That when you're doing this, you don't just talk about this bond, you talk about both bonds, and what is the plan for the future to be able to make sure that all of these all the financing is being taken care of. So don't just look at one, Dean or Chuck, and I want you to look at the whole picture. And if you're going to call all of them, or if you're not going to call them, or if you're going to call one and not the other one, how are you going to do it and how are you going to finance it?
All right, Commissioner Gilman.
Just a quick question for Mr. Korg. This is about the amount of money that each of the five participating are going to be willing to put in, of course, the county. Is it true that the rainbow ends at the Garfield Township Hall?
No rainbows there.
That's all I had to say.
Commissioner Thomas, and then
Well,
Commissioner Henschel.
Yeah, I would assume that the motion made here tonight was for Dean and Bill to do exactly what you want them to do. I don't think we have to remind them, they're well aware of what needs to be done.
Okay, Commissioner Henschel.
I'll voice my concerns right now, and I don't want to blindside you after your meeting, but you talk about your money is bringing in less than 0.5% right now. But how long of an investment are we talking about, and how much would that money bring in over the long term? We really got to look at the big picture.
Absolutely.
Interest rates will not stay like they are. Money will start returning more.
That is correct.
So I'd just like it to be part of your discussion, that if we're talking about a 15-year, 20-year investment for Grand Traverse County, we're looking at the interest rates long-term. Nobody can predict what they'll be, but you can look at historically what they've been, and that was my question to Bill Rokas last week, was what is, not what's now, but what's typical? What has it been over 10 years?
My thinking was a 20-year amortization with a 5-year fix, and let it float from there.
Okay, thank you.
And I did have a conversation with Dean, and both him and Bill are looking at the delinquent tax fund, and it would be if there was a surplus available above what we would need to cover taxes. They are looking at that dollar amount as possibly the amount that would come forward from us as to help finance the remaining part, and we wouldn't be dipping into what we actually needed to pay taxes. That is initially what they're looking at right now. So, Commissioner, I believe Commissioner Wheelock is next.
Okay, the only comment, and I'm not, certainly will support the idea of helping with this problem, but we cannot forget and lose sight of the fact that our delinquent tax fund and our fund balance is why Grand Traverse County is blessed with a AA bond rating, and we want to make sure that we don't do anything to damage that, because the county's bond rating is so beneficial to every water project and sewer project the townships have ever done. It's,
Peninsula Township has a better rating than we do.
Sure.
We can use them.
But we funded the emergency room at Munson Hospital because we could save them money. We do not want to put Grand Traverse County's bond rating at risk in this.
As a county resident, I agree.
Okay, good. Any other comments on the motion? Commissioner Fleece.
I think these gentlemen understand plain English, as does the staff. I think we need to vote on it.
All right, okay, good. Any other comments? Any members of the public? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Lemkool,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Yes.
Richardson,
Axbauer,
Yes.
Chairman Newman.
Yes, motion passes. All right.
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Chairman?
We have one more item on the elimination plan on the $70,000, so you might want to stay up there for a moment. Yes, Commissioner Lemkool.
Last week, we voted that there was a shortfall for this year.
That's
what we're
what's
going to do
next.
right now.
That's the next page.
All right,
Okay.
so the next item is item 4, the shortfall situation. And how we want to handle it. Dean, you want to speak on that, or?
Well, this is a complicated item to discuss, because this is it's a function of the nature of the septic facility fund and the accounting that has to be applied to it. It's an enterprise fund. It's not like your general fund in the county or in the townships. It has a different measurement focus. It's full accrual accounting. When you look at the balance sheet, it works down to a net asset position. And we have a component of net assets that has a deficit in it. The deficit is caused primarily because the operations don't generate enough cash to cover the operating expenses and the debt service, including both the principal and the interest. And the state this year issued new guidance on how
deficits in any of our funds, and because this fund is reported in the county's audit report, the county has to submit a deficit elimination plan. And we were getting final numbers from our auditors very late, about mid-June, so we really haven't had a lot of time to deal with this. Despite the fact that the income statement, which is not the proper term, but the income statement showed, you know, that we had an increase in net assets. When you break that net asset into its different components, we ended up with a part of that net asset position that was a deficit. And the state goes into how that's calculated. And the bottom line is that by June 30th, the county has to submit a deficit elimination plan to the state saying how that deficit is covered. And based on the discussion we had at Ways and Means last week, the only way to cover that was to invoice the townships for their share of that loss, of that deficit. And that was done in accordance with the agreement regarding the septic facility. I did run those invoices. I sent those to the townships. And my plan, if the board approves this resolution tonight, is to forward the resolution and that documentation to the state so that we have, in effect, cleared this deficit. And it's important that we do this because on Friday I also have to update our qualifying status with the state in terms of our ability to bond. That's an annual filing requirement, and you know, we need to do that for any of the future bond issues that we might have. So it's critical that this be done, and it has to be turned around in a very short period of time. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to
Just to clarify
explain
one
it.
point, and then I'll take Commissioner comments. Dean, if you could just touch briefly on that last year was a different year, that we showed more cash because of the settlement. We were able to do the 50-50 split resolution that was in place, but moving forward, the state has indicated that we cannot loan any money. It's not a resolution to a deficit reduction plan. That's why we would have to bill the townships for the amount owed based on their percentages. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
Last year, we actually ended the year with a similar deficit. It was larger. The plan that we submitted, knowing that we had the settlement money, and if you recall, we were doing that in July and August, so we knew that we were settling. We prepared a resolution that said that those funds would be used. That was revenue coming into the facility. That revenue, in effect, was used to cover the deficit that we ended 2010 with. And as a point of clarification, we always get hung up on this. There's a difference between a cash deficit and an operating deficit, or a deficit in your unrestricted net assets. It's not uncommon for the county to end the year with a cash deficit. We ended 2011 in certain funds, as we did the septic facility, and that is the resolution that the board adopted in 2010 regarding a 50-50 sharing of that cash deficit with the townships. That resolution does not address this situation where we have a deficit in net assets or an operating deficit that does require basically an appropriation from someone to cover it. It has to be a revenue. It can't be cash.
Okay. All right. First we'll go with Fleece, and then Wheelock, and then Henschel.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the resolution for the septic facility fund deficit elimination plan for 2011.
Second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Fleece, seconded by Commissioner Henschel to approve the resolution as presented. Discussion, Commissioner Wheelock.
I guess just a question for you guys. I'm sure you've probably already heard that you're going to get the bill. You've probably already received the bill. Do you have any comments?
Well, I was wondering why we didn't take it out of the funds in the septic treatment plant. I think historically, you have paid it if on the shortfall, then we settle up at the end.
We can't do that.
And this is kind of a difference. I guess the law changed, so we have to do that. And then Mr. Lyle had a conversation with me today, and why didn't we have the 50/50 agreement that we had all signed in place, so you would pay 50 and we would pay 50?
I think we answered the 50/50 question, is that the state said, after we got done with the appropriation from the lawsuit, we could use that funding, and previously we did, the prior years, we did the 50/50, and then the state ended up auditing our, reviewing our audits, and
Yeah,
they
I'm
came
aware of
up
that.
with this determination that on a deficit reduction plan, a loan is not a remedy. The county cannot
it's the
loan
nature of
money
the
as a
shortage.
remedy
It's
for
advance.
a deficit reduction plan, so that's
It's
why we
because it's
can't.
the operational piece.
Yeah, it's the operational piece, so that's why we can't do the 50/50 loan plan anymore, you know, pertaining to a lost operations.
We just spent a lot of money working with the county attorney to develop a loan agreement. I have it on my agenda.
Yeah, and the thing is that agreement, based on, you know, what's in it, it has to change, because it addresses the 50/50 loan plan in that agreement.
But I think that, I understand why
Yeah.
it was inaccurate, but I think that change, have you
That-
guys not seen that? And
I talked to Scott Howard on that, and I did indicate to Scott that that would not cover a deficit in, you know, the bottom line operations. That agreement, though, depending on what we do with the call on, you know, the issue that's callable on November 1st, would still be a document that you could use to, you know, address how you fund the township's share of that cash. So that agreement still has value.
Yeah.
And I just want to state for the record, I have never advised this board that a cash transfer would cover an operating deficit. We seem to keep going back to that. I've been very clear on that. Even the Record Eagle does not get that right. I have never told this board, no, this really bothers me, because the Record Eagle simply, they don't have the experience or the background that I do. I have never once indicated that a cash advance would cover an operating deficit, and we have never accounted for that as an appropriation. We have not made any appropriations to the septage facility. It has always been a short-term cash advance, and it has been appropriately accounted for.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments on the motion? Commissioner Henschel.
It is loosely related, but with the special assessment, we got you here. Has anyone talked to Leelanau County's board as far as their intentions? I know, I read your attorney's opinion that the BPW can do a special assessment in Elmwood Township, which is not in Grand Traverse County. But I talked to Tom Van Pelt, the chairman of that board, last Thursday, and he was not really aware of, you know, much of what was going on. I mean, vaguely aware. If that board, which, I don't know, depending on how you read the paper, sometimes they tend to knee-jerk a little bit, was to say, well, no, you can't do that in our county, you know, that could create, you know, more legal hassles and more delays and stuff. I'm just wondering, is there a communication channel open to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners?
Apparently, you.
Okay.
I'm not aware, Elmwood may have that.
Okay.
Jack Kelly, but as to our information, we haven't
Well, I guess
talked with Leelanau.
the reason I bring it up, just based on my conversation with Mr. Van Pelt, you might want to just keep some information flowing somehow, just to, you know, keep everyone on the same page and avoid any knee-jerk reactions from those elected officials that can be unpredictable.
Okay. All right, good conversation. Commissioner Max Bauer.
This is an opportune time for me to mention that Elmwood Township has paid their debt to date. Acme Township has not.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. That was a previous billing you're talking about. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the board level? Anybody from the audience? All right. We have a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Henschel?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Richardson?
Yes.
Axbauer?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Chairman Inman?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming this evening. We appreciate taking your time out of your
Thank you all.
schedule to come.
See you in the morning.
See you in the morning. We now have the Long Lake Township letter regarding the interlocal agreement of storm water control. So we're going to need some guidance on this letter from either Sonny or Bob or somebody that knows something about this. Sonny, you want to start out?
Well, maybe I can start. I reported to you a month or so ago that Long Lake Township was in a situation where, unlike every other township in the county, their intergovernmental agreement expired on June 12th of 2012. It was a 5-year agreement, I believe, or 3-year agreement, whatever. Anyway, there was discussion as to who would be enforcing their stormwater ordinance after that date, because the intergovernmental agreement, it does in fact expire. And what I would prepare to ask, and I would move, you know, at least for further discussion, is that we grant an extension to Long Lake Township's intergovernmental agreement to bring them in line with the expiration of all the rest of them in Grand Traverse County of December 31st of 2012. By doing such, it will give us an opportunity to evaluate where that department is going to be that handles, you know, because we're moving a bunch of soil erosion issues over to the Construction Code Office, and, you know, we may choose to have this all go at the same time. Or maybe December 31st, we'll decide we don't want to do it. I just think it's inappropriate that we have one township that's hung out there without an intergovernmental agreement.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Wheelock to extend the interlocal agreement through the end of this year. And is there support?
Yeah.
Support by Commissioner Thomas. Discussion. Commissioner Henschel.
I don't believe the county should be in the business of enforcing township ordinances, and there's actually a couple of townships that don't have this ordinance, and we don't enforce it for them, so I will be voting no.
Okay. Anybody else? Motion. Anybody from the audience? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to extend the interlocal agreement with Long Lake Township to the end of the year. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gilman.
No.
Fleece.
Yes.
Wheelock.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yep.
Richardson.
Yes.
Axbauer.
No.
Lemkool.
Yes.
Henschel.
No.
Chairman Inman.
Yes. Motion passes with 3 noes. And does that conclude the administrative report, Dave? Anything else to add?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to unfinished business, we have the Area Agency on Aging discussion that occurred at the last meeting, and Commissioner Maxbauer and Commissioner Richardson both called the administrative office to ask if that could be placed on tonight's agenda. So I will call on first Commissioner Maxbauer, and then I will call on Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said in my note to the Board of Commissioners, the Commission on Aging has always been a strong supporter of the Area Agency on Aging. We simply feel, as a board, that that funding should come from the Grand Traverse County Board, not from Commission on Aging. And we also believe, and I asked by a copy of my note to Mr. Cooney, we also believe that since that agency funds individuals under age 60, that funding needs to come from the county board and cannot come from the Commission on Aging millage, which is restricted from age 60 to people who are age 60 and above. Now, I cannot stress enough, I mean, Jim Pasco is here, our Commission on Aging representative on the Area Agency on Aging. Georgia is here. Jim McGee is here. Ralph Safradini is here. All Commission on Aging board members. Bob Schluter is here. We do support the Area Agency on Aging. We just don't think that that funding can come from the Commission on Aging. So, Mr. Cooney, can you clarify that for us, please?
Well, I agree that the law that allows the county to fund programs and services for seniors is restricted to persons over the age of 60. So,
and this agency funds, and Bob Schluter, would you mind?
No, not at all.
Please. This agency does fund individuals under the age of 60. And therefore, and I just can't stress enough, you know, the Commission on Aging Board doesn't want to be a bad guy here. We want your agency funded.
I know that.
But
Okay, thank you, Bob.
I believe you could probably target the funds to the persons who are 60 years of age and over, so.
Okay, all right. All right. Go ahead, and then I'll call in Commissioner Richardson.
Did you want me to do my presentation?
Well,
Want to answer?
Let's go to Commissioner Richardson first, if you don't mind. You can just continue to have a seat there. Commissioner Richardson.
I don't think anybody questions that we support the Area Agency on Aging. Couple questions about, whether you can legally fund this. I guess my first question would be how many years you made this payment before you decided last year that you couldn't? And also the fact that we made it, I thought this board made it pretty clear during the budget process last year that you should continue to make this rather small payment, which is, by the way, a small sliver of matching funds, $7,500 in matching funds for $1.9 million in grant funds that benefit overwhelmingly senior citizens in Grand Traverse County. I'm afraid that mostly what this is a question about whether it's going to come out of the county's fund balance or the Commission on Aging's fund balance. And of course, I'm going to come down, since it's a senior program, that it ought to come out of the Commission on Aging fund balance. So,
Commissioner Gilman.
Just, as far as directing, if we're directing it, then we must, according to what you were saying, we must direct it to be used towards services that are provided for people 60 or older.
I think you could do that in a contract, another contract.
In a contract. Now, assuming there are other funding sources, are there other funding sources that provide the fungibility to allow you to continue your operation with that direction? And then you, of course, would have to provide some kind of verification to see through from that direction, I guess. You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think so. The $43,000 that we collect from the 10 county commissions in Northwest Michigan, the 10 counties that we serve, that $43,000 does not serve anybody under the age of 60. We have very complicated fund accounting that goes on. We're audited for that. I agree full-heartedly with Commissioner Maxbauer. Every county is very aware of that. Commission on Agings are very fond of all of the people that vote for their millages, and that's a big rule. So we are audited for that. We do not spend a dime of the Older Americans Act money that is allocated to 60 and above on anybody below that. The monies in question are the Medicaid waiver program in this region, and we are mandated to serve a disability network person down to the age of 18. Most of the people we have on that program are pushing 60. Most of them are 60 and well above. We have a small percentage that are below 60. So one question is, yes, our organization, the Area Agency on Aging, does serve people under the age of 60, specifically for the Medicaid waiver program, which does not have a required match component. It's only the $3,300,000 of our Office of Services, the aging money, that requires the match component. Both the feds require a 25% match on our admin dollars, and the state requires a 10% match on the service dollars. So that $43,000 is for those funds for 60 and above.
Okay. And just to let everyone know, and I'll call in Commissioner Henschel, that there was a discussion about when we put this agenda together that we thought it was timely, and he was prepared to come in anyways with the annual report for the Area Agency on Aging. And what we thought we'd do is, instead of having it under special presentations, we would just allow him to have allow him to present the annual report during this discussion item. So once we clear the board on clarifications of our direction on the budget for this year with the Commission on Aging, I'd like to have him do the annual report. So Commissioner Henschel?
As soon as we saw that this was going to be on the agenda, actually both Commissioner Richardson and myself called Bob had a conversation with them. And Bob, just correct me if I'm wrong, but you can provide an extensive paper trail showing that this matching funds absolutely do not go to any services provided to people under the age of 60.
The $43,000 that we receive from the 10 counties, yes, that has a paper trail, it's audited. And in my handout tonight, I've given extra information, a cover letter from our finance director that shows the requirements that we are under that covers that $43,000.
So this is absolutely a non-issue, and unless someone sits down and follows that paper trail and shows me where it is an issue, it's a non-issue. So please answer. I see you got your hand up. Tell me.
I do. I just have one other question for Mr. Cooney. Mr. Cooney, the Area Agency on Aging is a 501c3. Can we give money to a 501c3? I hate to beat a dead horse.
For specific services that are lawful county expenditures.
Okay.
Do we have that? We have the same relationship. They have an interlocal agreement, I'm assuming, with the 10 counties for the creation of on the Area Agency on Aging. And the same with the Council of Governments. It's a 10-county organization formed by 10 counties that formed an interlocal agreement.
So we do have that contract?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're set with the governing document.
All right, so my next question is, in the 2012 budget process, was our match the $7,500, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that part of the Commission on Aging budget in that
No,
process?
and that was discussed at least twice.
Okay.
But the board
And
did
this
give
board approved that budget knowing that that $7,500 was not in there. Oh, yes, they did.
No. We might have approved it, not realizing, but don't say we approved it knowing, because we absolutely, all we saw was a line item for $20,000 with no detailing of where that $20,000 was going. So don't suggest that we knew.
My recollection of the discussion with Dennis Aloy on the budget, and can't recall which meeting it occurred in, is that Dennis recommended to the board during the budget process that membership amount be paid by the Commission on Aging, not under our general fund. And the reason was the significant amount on their fund balance. And the board, in my recollection, agreed with him and consented to it, but I don't think there was a separate motion to do that, and that's what brought this item back up here today.
And that's what this motion could do.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I make a motion that we direct the Commission on Aging to pay the dues to the Area Agency of Agency out of their budget.
Okay, second. All right, moved by Lemko, seconded by Henschel, to have the Commission on Aging make that appropriation for the membership fee.
That is ad infinitum.
Pardon me?
That's continuing on.
And the continuing audit of those items.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion among board members. Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, obviously, we've had a lot of discussion about the Commission on Aging and their expenditures over the last couple months. The one thing that I am unable to forget is the fact that we do not make a general fund appropriation to the Commission on Aging. Our Commission on Aging has been very fortunate to have voter approval in this community to support the services that they provide. $7,500 is a pretty minuscule amount of money, and I guess from my perspective, I'm inclined to oppose the motion that's on the floor and have the County Board of Commissioners make this $7,500 appropriation from our Commissioner Contingency Fund. You know, I truly, you know, I can't continue to beat at the Commission on Aging about their budget. You know, we all know that they have certain issues with their budget in 2012, and you know, I've opposed some of the ways they've spent money in that, you know, right down to last week. But the fact is that Grand Traverse County is very fortunate that its voters have chosen to vote millage to operate the Commission on Aging. Without that millage, we, Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners, would be providing a budget to to provide services to seniors. We don't have to do that because the community has supported the programs. The fact that the area agency provides services to some members that are less than 60 years old, you know, there are other members of our community that are receiving services from the Area Agency on Aging who probably don't qualify for the 60 and over. I don't think there's any question there are. So, you know, at least from my perspective, I will not support the motion, but if this motion fails, I will make a motion that we pay the $7,500 from the contingency fund, in that I believe that it is a pretty minimal amount of money for Grand Traverse County as a board to appropriate to serve seniors in our community.
All right, Commissioner Maxbauer and Commissioner Fleece.
Commissioner Wheelock, it always frightens me when you and I agree.
Scares both of us.
I am going to support my Commission on Aging board with this. They feel very strongly that the Area Agency on Aging should be funded, but it should come out of county board funds, not Commission on Aging funds. And, you know, in defense of the Commission on Aging board, you know, this wouldn't even be coming forward if I hadn't mentioned it at the last county board committee meeting. Dennis has always, or was always aware that Area Agency on Aging was not funded. We had a discussion just before he left that it was not funded, and I was always committed to funding this $7,500. Commissioner Wheelock is exactly right. It is a minuscule amount of money as far as the county coffers go, but I just believe strongly that it should come from the county board, not from the Commission on Aging millage funds.
All right, we will go to Fleece, Richardson, and then Lemko. Commissioner Fleece.
You know, I really find it remarkable that this board would even contemplate or think about directing the Commission on Aging board how to spend their millage. That organization, the board of directors and the director, Georgia, has run a very efficient operation for many, many years. Prior to being a commissioner, the 6 years I've been a commissioner, I've never heard a complaint. And I won't support the motion because I don't think $7,500 out of a $38 million budget is going to hurt us. And to go back a week ago to Ways and Means, on a budget item for the purchase of a mower, and this board stuck its nose right in the business and voted no. So consequently, the Commission on Aging is going to be short a piece of equipment that they need to provide a service to our seniors who overwhelmingly voted the millage. And I don't know why people on this board would be so pompous to think that they ought to be telling the board on the Commission on Aging how to spend their funds when they've been doing a fine job for many, many years. I will not support this motion at all.
Okay, Commissioner Richardson.
At the end of 2011, the Commission on Aging had $1.3 million in money that is taxpayers' money accumulated for the purposes of delivering programs to seniors. Now, if this $7,500 to support the Area Agency on Aging isn't money to support senior programs, I don't know what is. I mean, if the motion fails, I will certainly vote with you to spend it out of the county. But like I said, we're all in deficit spending here, and quite frankly, the Commission on Aging has a much higher percentage fund balance than we do. So it seems to me that if they have funds for senior programs, then they should support those senior programs.
Okay, Commissioner Lemko.
Yeah, my biggest concern on this is who has the contract. we do not have a contract personally for AAA, for Area Agency of Agency. The Commission on Aging has a contract to provide those services. That contract should go through that agency, not through us as a county commission. So if we were going to have to spend it, then we would have to go out, have Bob do another contract, and be able to have us, to be able to have the AAA to be able to do services for the Commission on Agency. I have a problem with that. That's why my motion is to direct the Commission on Aging to work with the AAA and them to sign the contract, and the money flows directly from that organization.
All right. Any other comments? Commissioner Henschel, and then I'll go to public comment.
Well, as far as this board doing its duty in directing public funds, which it was elected to do, Commissioner Fleece, welcome to the Republic. This is what we were elected to do. It is our duty. You know, I'm sorry you didn't get to sell a lawnmower, but I don't call it pompous for a commissioner to do their duty. As far as the Commission on Aging, I totally support the mission of the Commission on Aging of keeping seniors in their homes. I've met a lot of them recently, and a lot of them are grateful for the service provided there. To leverage $1.9 million with $7,500, I don't know why this is even here. This should be a no-brainer for this board or that board. I don't know why we even have to discuss it. Just, you know, it works. You know, there's a paper trail proving it is legitimate expenditure. There's a contract in place. Let's just do it and move on. I think we got bigger problems to solve.
Commissioner Fleece and then Gilman, and then hopefully we'll get to the public.
I neglected to mention one thing. I happen to be the low bidder on that mower, but that's not why I brought that up. The sad part, as a taxpayer, and I pay a lot of taxes in this county, it really irks me that this board, and I will call you pompous, because that was an appropriated budget line item, and had I not owned Lark and been a commissioner, it would never have even came in front of this board. And I stand by my statement. I think that organization, their board of directors, and the lady that runs it has done an excellent job. In all the years I've lived in Grand Traverse County, which are virtually all of them, I've never heard a complaint on that department. I hear a lot of good and accolades, but that's where I'm coming from, Mr. Henschel.
Okay. Commissioner Gilman?
How many years has the Area Agency and how many years has the Commission on Aging provided for
their membership fee?
Yeah.
No, probably for 10 years at least. Georgia, longer?
It's been a blend. Some years the county paid it, some years we paid it.
So we have historically covered it at different times when the budget didn't work well for the Commission on Aging? Or
Well, initially it was paid by the county.
Georgia, you need to come to the microphone.
We will eventually get to you on your annual report.
Georgia Durer, Director, Great Traverse County Commission on Aging. When I first started here, which was almost 25 years ago, the county paid the local match each year until, I don't know, maybe 10 or less years ago, sometime after Dennis started, and then they decided, since we had a millage, and it was a senior millage, that the aging fund should come out of our senior millage. So that's when it changed. Prior to that, it was appropriated by the county board.
Okay. So
Can't give you the exact number of years ago, but it was several.
But I think we're in agreement probably on this board at some point here, we're going to fund it. Either we're going to do it with this motion or we're going to do it with the next motion. And the question is one of appropriate, where it comes from appropriately. Dean, what's our current contingency balance for 2012?
Oh, you initially budgeted 100,000. I know we've used some of it. There's probably 75 to 80,000 in the line item.
We took 25 out for Kingsley.
So there's 75,000 available.
No, 25,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Lemkool.
All right. Are we concluding our comments? Okay. Now I would open up to any members of the public, and if members do want to speak, then I would ask the people at the desk to take a break for a second. Any member of the public wish to speak on this item?
Let's vote before
All
I
right,
get
hearing
any
none.
older.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to have the Commission on Aging make the payment for the membership fee for the Area Agency on Aging. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Fleece?
No.
Wheelock?
No.
Thomas?
No.
Richardson?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
No.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Gilman?
No.
And Chairman Inman.
I'm going to vote yes because that was the direction of the board. So that motion fails. We need a new motion. I'll call on Commissioner Fleece.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we fund the Area Agency on Aging $7,500 appropriation out of our contingency fund.
For 2012, okay. Moved by Fleece, seconded by Thomas, that the County Board of Commissioners will fund the membership fee for the Area Agency on Aging out of the 2012 budget, out of the contingency fund. So moved by Thomas.
No.
No.
Moved by
Fleece.
Fleece, seconded by Thomas. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
still good.
All right, discussion. Commissioner Maxwell.
My only question is, the motion, Commissioner Fleece, was $7,500, and I think the amount is $7,503. So I would ask that you amend your motion to be $7,503.
I stand corrected.
All right, okay.
$7,503.
Thank you, sir.
All right, everybody understand the motion? I'm assuming no comments from the public. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Richardson?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
No.
Henschel?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Chairman Inman.
Yes, motion passes with 1 nay. All right, I think we've resolved that issue. Now we will go to your annual report.
I will keep it brief, I promise.
Thank you.
I appreciate you moving this up, but there's a copy.
You got some of those in great big print?
Yeah. I appreciate you moving this up from September.
Again, my name is Bob Schluter. I'm the Executive Director of the Area Agency on Aging of Northwest Michigan. We cover the 10 counties commonly known as Northwest Michigan, and I appreciate your efforts that just took place. I appreciate the match component. Something new I added to the packet this year was that front letter where I had Michelle, our Finance Director, put in writing some of the requirements that we have. We actually have a little over $390,000 match that we are required to make. We can carve that down to the $43,000 using other funds available and in-kind stuff, but we always get this roughly $1,000 that we have to ask from the counties. And what I want to do is, before I go through the annual report, is just quickly go through the handouts that were attached to that. The inside is how the Grand Traverse County funds are broken down by program. That's a chart, and I'll let you can scan through that. Unfortunately, in September, you would have had the annual report that ahead of this meeting, and you'd have been able to review it a little bit, so I did give you a little bit additional information. The second page is a Grand Traverse. That's the $5,071.64 is what goes directly through the Commission on Aging from the Area Agency on Aging. The rest of the money in the county goes through other contractors. And we used to contract more money through the Commission on Aging in years past. They are a very well-organized machine. I say that in the kindest of ways, but they do a lot of work. Over the years, they have needed less money from our organization. We've redirected it to other counties, and we have also directed it to other organizations within Grand Traverse County. So it's bittersweet. We don't get to see them as much as we used to, but the monies are going to other organizations, and Grand Traverse certainly is becoming very large with the population. The next page breaks out all 10 counties. You can see Grand Traverse sits right in the middle. This year, you're 22% of the funding that last year I believe it was 24%. You're roughly 24% of the population of Region 10. And then the back page breaks it out, and the first question everybody says, well, why is population age 62 and over and not 60 and over? It's because we have never been able to get accurate figures for 60 and above broken out by the census, and we're still working on it. The state is for the Office of Services of the Aging, but this gives you a good picture of how the counties are, their population. The bottom is how the actual distribution of the formula is broken out. There's a base of $2,150 for each county, and then the formula is based on the population, and that's how we come up with which each county's match component. One thing I do want to point out on the third form in is that even though the totals at the bottom of each county, they don't really relate to the population of the county in many ways. It's due to the needs of the individuals in that county. So some counties might have a lower population, but they might actually get more funding from us because of the programming that's actually going into that. The counties are just more in need. As far as the Area Agency on Aging, some of the highlights programs that we're involved in right now, the 10 out of 18 elder abuse laws just passed the legislature, and we were real excited about that. We have 8 more to go. We're working on some banking legislation ones that will help, that actually force the hand of banks to get more involved when people have checkbook rights with relatives and things, and we want the banks to pay more attention to that. So 10 out of 18, and we're working on the other 8, and it's all about elder abuse and many different. We're involved because of the Affordable Care Act and some other things in a lot of training related to home care. Home and community-based care is exploding, and it's exploding because it's 2 things. It's more person-centered. Everybody would rather receive services at home, and it's more cost-efficient. Our cost to keep somebody at home last year was in the area of about $1,700 a month. The average nursing home cost, and we love nursing homes, this is not anything against nursing homes, is about $6,500. The people that we're taking care of at home for $1,700 would be in a nursing home if they didn't have services provided by the Commission on Aging and the area agencies on aging throughout the state. So we're trying to get ahead of that curve, and we're training caregivers and trying to get that whole status of the home care up, better salaries, pay a lot more attention to that. The state budget this year recognized home and community-based care. They actually bumped it up a little bit in funding. Governor Snyder is proven out as far as numbers, and we have come up with we can show him the numbers and his administration, and they have been very impressed with it. And so the aging programs of the state have gotten a few bumps. Another program you're going to hear a lot more of, we hope, and Georgia's working in this, is Aging and Disability Resource Centers. This is another very serious attempt, and this one looks like it's moving forward, of getting all the agencies, state, private, together at the same table so that we can spend our monies more efficiently. We have been working hard since January, but actually a year and a half, to get all the players at the table, and we're at a point now where people are actually signing a commitment, not a financial commitment, but a commitment to work together, and we will be submitting an application for this. What does it mean in the big picture? Hopefully additional funding to this region out of the Affordable Care Act. We'll know tomorrow morning how far that Affordable Care Act goes, because I guess the Supreme Court is coming back to us with that. But there are some great opportunities for aging and the disability networks if we have our ducks in a row, and this Aging and Disability Resource Center is one. We also started at the beginning of the year a veterans program for home and community-based care. We were trained, approved, licensed, all of that so we work with a hospital out of Saginaw, Veterans Hospital out of Saginaw. Started really small, but we're hoping that we will be able to provide home and community-based care for veterans. The Veterans Administration wants us because they told us flat out, we can't do that. We don't know how to do that. We want you to do it because you're the ones who do it the best. So that's an exciting initiative we have going. Another thing is care transitions. Transitioning people out of nursing homes and out of hospitals back into their home setting. Out of nursing homes, for obvious reasons, people want to be home if they can. And the transition effort is to make sure that they don't end up going back into things because the organization around that person wasn't solid. Again, the Affordable Care Act has pumping a lot of effort into care transition from hospital settings. In 2014, hospitals will be nicked quite heavily for too early of readmissions because they didn't do a good plan when they sent the individual home. So we're working closely with the hospitals to make sure that they can access the resources from the Commission on Aging and the area agencies on aging. We're working more and more closely with the hospitals. These are all baby steps because that's a huge complex, but we're sitting at the same tables now, and that's something we haven't. I've been in this network for almost 30 years, and we're as far on that road as we've ever been, and it's looking pretty bright. Excuse me. The only other thing that I think some of you may have, I know your relatives have been involved in, we run the Medicare Medicaid Assistance Program. It's our most popular program, and we fund it from our own general account to about $50,000 a year. It's underfunded by the state by that much, but we have people coming in that have Medicare and Medicaid paperwork problems, all kinds of issues, financial, all kinds of stuff. We have a volunteer base of about 20 volunteers right now of the highly trained. I don't know how they do it, how they love it. It's Medicare and Medicaid world. These people take these people, fix their problems, and they leave our office with a big smile. Last year we had one guy leave $8,000 coming to him. That's unusual, but it is just amazing because it's a combination of 90% volunteer and then the effort from our organization. We offer them office space and all of that in-kind effort. But the Medicare Medicaid Assistance Program is something call us about if you know anybody has any of those issues. Our volunteers just love to get involved in that. So, and I will let you read our brochure. We do this in-house. 10 years ago, we used to have a Real Alert 15. We had a big glossy one, and somebody said, why are we paying all this money for this when we can do this in-house? And it's been pretty popular, so.
Great.
I'll entertain any questions.
All right, Commissioner Gilman.
Just a question on the page where you have the number of Grand Traverse clients on here. Is this, are any of these duplicates, or do we have 1,200, roughly 1,200 is what the total comes out to? I mean,
well, we're serving a lot more than 1,200 clients
in Grand Traverse County.
Grand Traverse County, yeah. We have multiple programs too that touch the, yeah, and there is some duplication. You'll have, in the meals programs, you obviously have somebody and that's usually broken down. In this, you'll see units, and sometimes the units are a length of time, and sometimes it might be a meal. And so this will show you, when you open it up, your unit, which is the actual carve out of the piece of work, and then the number of clients served by that.
All right. Commissioner Wheelock and then Commissioner Lemko.
Bob, just a quick question. I look at your this county support schedule for 2013. It looks, if I'm reading this correctly, our 2013 appropriation is going to be $7,503. So
Great.
Do we anticipate it will be the same next year, or will it be different?
Well, it was the same last year, it's the same this year, and I'm hoping that it'll be the same next year. We were way underfunded in that 6 years ago, and we bumped it up 1,000 every year until we got to this point. And right now, we can pretty much cover that, the majority of that 390,000 match with our other programs, and we're pretty solid with 43. I asked Michelle that because she asked me, do you want to go up? And I said, no, if we don't have to, we need to leave it at 43,000.
Okay, thank you.
Remember, that match is turned back into services. We don't use it for administration or anything. It goes back into services to the counties.
All right, Commissioner Lemko.
You want to talk about a little more about the Medicaid waiver program? That is a separate program, and the Community Mental Health is a competing agency for that, and I think the state required that there had to be competitors for that.
Yeah, we don't consider them competing, but yes, you're right. When it first started in the early 90s, the state wanted two Medicaid waiver programs in a AAA region, we actually suggested to the CMH that they submit their application. I was sitting on a Alzheimer's support group with one of their employees and gave them the information. We found out a year or so later that the real competition, and this wasn't our fault, this was the state, shouldn't have been at that level. It should have been at the provider level, the businesses, so that Mary didn't like ABC Home Care could have gone to XYZ Home Care. It was too late. The papers were signed. Now we have our waiver program is significantly bigger than CMH's. They do a wonderful job. We work together. Our staff works together. We bring them along on any of the training programs that they're not able to work in. The better training, better quality for home care workers. We invited them to partner with us on that.
I'll note we actually share a board member as well. Les Barnes is on CMH and on their board.
Right.
And Greg Paffhouse and I, we've worked a lot with the integrated care issues that Commissioner Henshaw has heard forever and ever about. That's coming our way too. We don't know what's going to happen with it, but and that's the whole concern I had, and I really appreciate everybody's thoughts tonight talking about the match. I really do. But we have a wonderful relation with the COA, and I didn't want something like this to be. I understand everybody's position, and quite frankly, I agree with all of you. That's pretty. You all have good arguments. You all have funds you want to protect. But you all focused on the right thing, and that 7,500 is leveraging a lot of money, and it really, we're a $9 million organization, which is really small on some hands, but it's bigger on others. 7,500 goes a long ways.
Yes, it
And
does.
we have a really minuscule admin, and I really appreciate Commissioner Richardson's support and the phone calls from Commissioner Henshaw on that, and Mr. Lemkool. So it's a tough decision. Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, thank you for coming this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will now move on to new business. First item is a letter that was submitted to the county commission from...
Oh, and I just hate to even ask for this now, because the county board has just been so generous with the area agency on aging, but...
Hang on, we have an item before you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got another.
Yes, your
Good.
introduction was a little
Good.
premature. The first item is the request from Jack Pickard, who is the president of the Veterans Coalition, that was sent to the county commission that I asked staff to put in the packet. And that is under new business, page 1. And it basically involves some kind of public support for the commander for the Coast Guard, Commander Zella, to have another term here in Traverse City. So the Veterans Coalition is working with him on many fronts with some programs that the Coast Guard is doing, and would like to see him. He's had one term, that's 2 years, and it's many commanders have had several terms. Some have had 1, some have had 2, some have had 4, 3. So they would like to meet with Commander Bozzella and his commanding officer during the Cherry Festival and see and just give them some level of remarks that we really appreciate Commander Bozzella's position and what he's done for the community and the interaction he had, and if it's all possible, we'd like to have him extended for another term. So I said I would submit this to the board. It's kind of an unusual request, but it would be advisory at best. But my question to you is, do you want to take up the letter or don't you want to take up the letter? Commissioner Gilman.
I would make the motion that we concur with the Grand Traverse Area Veterans Coalition in support of keeping the commander for another term.
Okay. Support. All right, moved by Gilman, seconded by Henschel.
Somebody down there.
All right. Comments or questions?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Okay, we will send that resolution to the Jack Pickard. Now we move on to the item that Commissioner Maxbauer asked us to put on, and that had to do with, you'll have to explain it, the conflict resolution had something?
Oh, no. I thought we are on the...
That was somebody else.
I thought we are on the asking for $10,000 for scholarships.
All right, okay, you wanted something on the Commission on Aging. Was there a conflict resolution that brought
Yes,
up as well?
there,
That's another issue.
that's another issue.
So that's a third item.
I
Or is that
had
whittled
two,
this
I
out?
had two 2% items.
Oh, you had two items. All right.
One is a request from Commission on Aging
Okay.
for office remodel, and the other is from conflict resolution
All right, okay.
for 2%
You have
money.
the floor.
But right now, are we on Commission on Aging's
Yes.
request for
Yes.
$10,000?
Yes,
Okay.
that's your item. You have
Again,
two items. All right, you have the floor.
The county board has been extremely generous tonight with their contingency fund, so I hesitate to bring this up, but at the Commission on Aging Executive Committee, we did discuss this, and we thought, we'll ask. All you can do is say no, and we are where we are, still. The Commission on Aging heard what the county board said at our joint meeting. We are not going to implement fee increases until January 1, and it may even be a little later than January 1. We are going to revisit the fee structure as the county board suggested, taking a look at the impact on our low-income clients. And to date, which was reported by our Deputy Director, Holly, at our last Commission on Aging Board committee meeting, 28 clients have called the Commission on Aging and said that with the fee increase, they will have to discontinue services. The Commission on Aging Board is committed to fundraising, and we are going to fundraise, and we are going to apply for grants, and we are going to take care of those seniors who cannot afford to go from $1.15 an hour for services to $4 an hour for services, and in some cases with the PERS unit, the Personal Emergency Response System units, to $15 an hour. But again, we're going to revisit that fee structure. And so we thought it would be nice if the Board of Commissioners would allocate $10,000 out of their contingency fund. And we, the Commission on Aging, would match that $10,000 with money out of our fund balance, and we would all put it into our scholarship fund for the seniors who are impacted, and that would give the Commission on Aging Board time to search for grants and fundraise. It would just give us a little cushion. And, Commissioner Richardson, I understand that you say we have $1.3 million, but without that $1.3 million, we would not have been able to absorb the $320,000 surprise, the shortfall surprise that we received this year. Dean, can you explain how that surprise occurred?
I really am not prepared to do that at this
Okay.
time. I'm still working with Georgia on that, so.
In any event, we had a $320,000 surprise, a revenue shortfall. And so, anyway, for discussion, I would move that the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners allocate $10,000 out of their contingency fund to the Commission on Aging Scholarship Fund for low-income seniors.
I'll support for purposes of discussion.
All right, been moved by Maxbauer, seconded by Richardson. Richardson, do you have comments? Then we'll go to Commissioner Wheelock.
Yeah, I seem to have been cast into this adversarial role with the Commission on Aging Board, and I don't wish to be there. It's not
Nor do
my
we.
intent. However, folks, I think this county board, and I would probably guess future county boards, would be more than happy to help in any way they can, if we really get to crunch time. I think we have a ways to go yet. You do have the resources right now. I think it's admirable that you're suggesting scholarships for people who really, can't afford, whatever, small fee increases are made. but please, I would hope that you could, continue to utilize that fund balance for, a little while longer. I'm guessing you're still a good couple of years out before it really gets tight. And it's very possible that things will turn around by then. So I will oppose the motion at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that the Commission on Aging is talking about, obviously first deferring the fee increases. Secondly, looking at other alternatives, including using the additional fund balance. 2 weeks ago, it was reported to us that they had a 27% fund balance. But at the same time, they're still talking about they can't afford to do all of these other issues. And they needed a fee increase to be able to cover this. When you're sitting with a 27% fund balance, you can't come to me about little issues consistently and saying you have to raise prices, because that is a huge fund balance. This county board would love to have a 27% fund balance, but we're probably down
18.
to below 20 now. We might be down to 18 at the end of this year. 18 to 20% fund balances are appropriate for governmental agencies. I don't believe a 27% fund balance is appropriate.
So your answer is no.
My answer will be no, yes.
All right, anyone else want to speak before Commissioner Richardson, or Commissioner Henschel?
I guess where I'm at is, I want to hear more about the fundraising. I want to hear more about where you end up with the pricing structure. I'm not going to say no, but I'll say not right now.
Okay.
I want to hear more. I want to see it unfold some more.
That's fair.
Okay, Commissioner Richardson.
And I think that's pretty much what I said. I said not right now. Actually, Commissioner Wheelock, if you take fund balances, what's the fund balance at the end of the year in 2011 and what's the budget for 2012, their fund balance is almost 50%. They have a budget of about a little over $2.6 million and a $1.3 million fund balance.
Okay, Commissioner Fleece.
I don't believe I could support the motion at this juncture, and I'll tell you why.
Hey, you've been generous tonight.
If you had 28 people that have called in already and said, we're going to cancel because we can't afford it, the decision hasn't been made. It isn't, if I'm not mistaken, the decision on the increase has not been made yet. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have decided to delay that increase until at least January 1. We heard what the county board said. We are going to revisit that fee structure.
Okay, and then sometime just prior to January 1, I presume the COA board would announce what the actual fee increase.
Oh, yes.
Maybe the $1.15 would only go to $2.65 or something that I suggested. But at the time, when that time comes and the board has decided exactly what they're going to do, depending on the circumstances, I might entertain a motion like that, because I would hate to see, and there's some people in my family that I know could not absorb something like that. And I would hate to see anybody left out, so I would be in support of the motion at that time, but tonight,
that's fair.
I wouldn't be.
Anyone else on the discussion? Commissioner Lemko.
I have to agree with Ross. I don't want to be painted as a negative against the Commission on Aging. I just disagree with how we're going to do putting out some of the funds. But I just want to say I completely support what the Commission on Aging is doing and their philosophy. But I really feel that there are better options and better opportunities to provide those same services.
All right, Commissioner Maxbauer.
Well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Georgia, Jim McGee, our chairman, Ralph Saffredini, and Jim Pasco for sitting here for 2.5 hours because they do this voluntarily as we discuss this. And I'm going to support my own motion, but my guess is it's going to fail.
Well, I guess I would just encourage the Commission on Aging to utilize their fund balance down to maybe the 20% level. And then, once you cross that line, and I think if we've got some allocation, we'd become more aggressive towards trying to help you out. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to move forward with a $10,000 allocation out of contingency to the Commission on Aging as a match fund for the indigent. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
No.
Richardson?
No.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemko?
No.
Henschel?
No.
Gilman?
No.
Fleece?
No.
Wheelock?
No.
Chairman Edmund?
No. Motion fails. Okay.
All right.
Your next item.
Okay. The 2% request. There is a 2% request on your desk from Commission on Aging for office renovation. As you all know, I'm there every week. A thorn in their side, I'm sure. Answering the phones. I truly believe that this office renovation is necessary, but we have done financial projections. This is an opportunity to provide the office the renovations that the board and I feel are necessary at no cost to seniors or to the county. So I would like to make a motion to forward this request on to the Grand Traverse Band.
I will support it.
Thank you.
All right, motion by Max Bauer, seconded by Len Poole to accept the application and forward it to the band. Commissioner Wheelock.
I've always said I will forward all of the applications to the band without.
And are you going to?
I have no problem with that.
All right.
I guess my only question when I read this is, I'm assuming this is additional construction work in this office in addition to what this county board approved.
No.
No, it's
Replacement of.
Is this replacement
Yes,
of?
yes.
So instead of spending the money that you asked, that the county
yes.
board approved to do it?
Yes, we would not spend any. We would save money if this is approved.
That was the question I had. I thought we had approved that.
We did approve
we
a
did it.
small renovation.
We already approved a small renovation.
Less, right?
Georgia?
Did the bids come in and you saved that much money? Because that's great.
What we did was we pared the renovation back to just what we absolutely felt was essential, which was enclosing the office for confidentiality reasons, putting in an accessible counter, and converting 2 offices, putting furniture in 2 offices so we could use the space. Right now, one's used as a storeroom, and that's not good use of that space. And so the rest of it, we didn't do the rest of the renovation.
All right. Okay.
It was, we had 50,000 budgeted, and now I think it's at about 14.
Oh, all right. Commissioner Henschel.
If you will, help me, and this is open to anyone that knows the answer. Was there a deadline for nonprofit organizations to get applications for this
Yes.
to the county, and what was that deadline?
I don't recall.
June 1st.
June 1st.
And it feels like we're not playing by the rules. We're slipping one in that didn't come in for the deadline. Help me out with this.
You're exactly right, that the application's deadline was, I believe, June 1. I don't know the exact date, but I know there was a deadline cut off for everyone. And then that gave us time to deliberate and then send them to the tribe, and then they would go through their process until we were notified about this whole issue about proper funding. But it is my understanding that a governmental unit can submit an application prior to June 30th.
That's what it says on the
Yeah,
form.
that's what it says.
So we would be allowed to do this.
I read the form, and
Yeah, 'cause
I wasn't trying to bypass
Right.
anybody. I just felt it was an opportunity
Right.
to
Yeah,
save.
Acme submitted theirs a couple days ago, directly to the tribe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a governmental agency can send it prior to June 30th.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. We are, refresh my memory now, because we've had so much discussion. We have a motion on the floor. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right. So we'll submit the application.
Thank you all for staying.
Thank you. Anything else, Commissioner Max Bauer?
Yes, Conflict Resolution Services.
Okay.
Elizabeth, please.
this submitted by whom?
This is submitted by Conflict Resolution Services, and I'm bringing this to the board tonight after the request from the Garfield
Jim.
Township Board last night. Elizabeth submitted her application to the band to Garfield Township, and Garfield Township was aware that we had some legal issues.
Right.
And they referred this to the county board, so here it is tonight. And Bob, I know you haven't seen this, and I apologize. Fortunately, Elizabeth had an extra copy tonight. Mine that she gave me last night is at home on the chair in my living room. I rode my bicycle tonight. Would you just take a few minutes and tell us about your application and see if the board will forward it along with the rest?
My name is Elizabeth Pine, and I work with Conflict Resolution Services. And my feeling is from the discussion tonight that this probably is not going to fit what your guidelines are now. Up until last night, Garfield Township was going to submit this for us. This is an application to support a bullying prevention program that Conflict Resolution Services has invested in becoming a certified trainer. This is called the Alveus Bullying Prevention Program. It has been in an international program that has been used for over 40 years. It has the support of the Department of Justice, the U.S. Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, the Department of Education, the Center for the Study and Prevention of Violence. So though training schools in bullying prevention wouldn't be a duty of the county, it would certainly affect the county and all the residents in the county. So from what I understood in my efforts today to find someone who could submit this on our behalf, TBA ISD has already made their submissions. TCAPS is still reviewing it, but it does not sound very positive. NMC is probably a possibility. And otherwise, I think at this very late date, just finding out last night that we don't have someone to support this, I don't know that we will have anyone to support it. Yes?
Who is the training directed at?
The training is directed to the staff, the entire staff, from school bus drivers to cafeteria workers to every bit of faculty and every bit of administration.
Because, I mean, it would seem to me, obviously you've been talking to the school districts, but if they can't get it done between now and Friday, perhaps you could prepare it and have it ready to go for the December cycle.
Yep.
I know that's not probably the answer you want. But
No, and I'm still hoping that, and NMC is actually very open to this. And after hearing your discussion earlier, I'm really stuck around to thank Commissioner Maxbauer for her efforts in trying to find a way to help us get this through. And to make you aware of this program and whether you can support putting the program, submitting this application to the Grand Traverse Band, if you can support the program in general after review of the program.
Commissioner Henschel.
What's the amount of the grant request?
The amount of the grant request is $95,000, and that would cover training for 27 different schools that have shown interest in this program.
Okay, Bob, is it a lawful governmental appropriation?
Well, my initial impression is that it's not.
Okay.
However, I'd be willing to look at it, I suppose, if the board wanted to approve contingent upon my reviewing it and determining whether it is a lawful government expense.
I would make that motion.
Okay, it's moved by Maxbauer. Is there a second? Second by Lemkool to have this application as a part of our submittal process.
Upon approval of legal counsel.
Legal counsel, this is a legal governmental expenditure. Commissioner Henschel.
I do grant reviews with Rotary, so this is my grant reviewer coming through. How is this an unmet need in the school system?
From what I'm under, after the bullying awareness week that occurred in March in Grand Traverse County, I did follow-up calls with almost every school district, and every school district is looking at their bullying prevention programming and looking at new programming. And this is because of a new state mandate and a federal mandate that is before Congress right now. So though almost every school has a bullying prevention program in place, they probably are not going to meet the mandates that are coming from the government, from the state and federal government. And they aren't effective. And this program has 40 years of experience and 40 years of research to support the effectiveness of it.
Commissioner Lemko.
I had mentioned that you should get in touch with Dale Chilcolt. Did you get in touch with him?
I did.
Good. Because
Yep.
he was very instrumental in raising some funds for bullying because he had a family friends member that had committed suicide because of bullying. So, I would hope maybe with him and the two of you might look at how do we raise funds other than trying through the grant, through that.
Which he did say that it was a whole lot of work raising it personally. And we're looking at all kinds of grant sources. This is open for federal funding.
Right.
The purpose of this grant is to make it available to our schools right now as they're looking at different programming.
Okay.
This also has the support of the Michigan Department of Civil Rights and the Traverse City Human Rights Commission.
All right. Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, I guess my comments are, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to come in the criteria of a government-authorized program. We had a cutoff date of June 1st for applications for us to forward from non-government function. And while I believe the program may have merit, I won't support adding it to the packet.
Commissioner Lemko.
She did contact me shortly after, I don't know, it was like that same week.
That week, yeah.
And so I told her to submit the application, and I told her that the timeline for Grand Traverse County was passed, and that's why she went to Garfield Township. So she did go through Garfield Township's procedure to make sure that it was taken care of that way, and she would have submitted it directly to us if we hadn't had that deadline. And then Garfield Township last night then relayed it on to us, and that's what the process, why we ended up with it here.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Henschel.
Just going to agree with Commissioner Wheelock, because it's my turn to do that.
Boy, both of you agreed in one meeting. I'm pretty impressed.
But it didn't meet the deadline, and I believe it's a very worthy program. I had an editorial in the paper just a couple weeks ago that my son was a victim of bullying, and he's autistic. But we do need to play by the rules, and I have to agree that we missed the deadline in this one.
And those other agencies that you were speaking to, I think they may have different latitude than we have. They probably can directly submit to them prior to June 30th. So I would encourage you, if this fails, to continue your effort there. And like another commissioner said, if all else fails, get your application through the next round.
Right.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Richardson.
And I would also encourage you, even if the motion passes, that you keep pursuing those other, because it may,
Not
it
fit
may
the
go down
guidelines.
on the rock of Bob Cooney over there.
The rock of Bob Cooney.
We have a...
Ooh. The rock. Ooh. I don't think Bob wants that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to accept the application with legal counsel review, contingent upon legal counsel review. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Richardson.
Yes.
Maxbauer.
Yes.
Lemko.
Yes.
Henschel.
No.
Gilman.
No.
Fleece.
No.
Whitlock.
No.
Thomas.
No.
Chairman Inman.
Nope. Motion fails. 3 yes votes. So continue your course. See how. All right, okay.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Commissioner Maxbauer, you have?
Not a darn thing, other than maybe adjournment.
Okay. That leads us to second public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time?
They probably forgot what they were going to say.
Mr. Chairman, we have a young lady sitting at the
I
end
see that.
here
I wonder
that
if she's here
would
for
like
her
to say
school
something.
requirement. Well, thank you for... Does this mean you want a career in government? Okay. We will sign your forms when we
If she
adjourn.
does, I know there was a good shrink.
Okay. All right. Hearing no public comment, we will close public comment. We'll move on to Commissioner Committee reports. Anything? Commissioner Henschel.
He forgot.
I'm trying to put it nicely, I guess. Northern Lakes CMH had some staff disputes, and so they hired an outside agency, and this was 3 months ago, to come in and do some interviews and come up with a dispute resolution plan to the tune of $20,000 for this. And then last month, the board took it upon themselves to recommend and approve, with one dissenting vote, actually two, that they just give them a 10% leeway in case it actually costs 10% more than they had expected. And that passed, and myself and Tom Van Pelt, the chairman of Leelanau, agreed that we didn't like that. And then, of course, this last week, the agency that came in to do this program said they're going to need even more money, which was granted them with the same two dissenting votes. So they're in very good, expensive hands, and I think it's going to be worked out.
Good, expensive hands.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Maxbauer.
Yes, I have good news and bad news. The good news is Parks Commissioner Rebecca Mann Cass's business has taken off and is flourishing. The bad news is, as a result of her flourishing business, she has resigned from the Parks Board. So, we have an opening on the Parks Board. I did mention it last night at Garfield Township, and suggested that this might be an opportunity for one of their Parks Board members to apply for the County Parks Board, and we could start looking at working together. Whether that will occur, I don't know, but applications can be taken at any time.
All right. Okay. I'll mention that to Chris. Anyone else? Commissioner Fleece.
You know, I'd like to see the Parks Board pursue somebody from South County.
Okay. Other than Rodetta?
You know, no, I'm trying, Rodetta is Blair Township, but you take Grant, Mayfield, Paradise, Fife Lake, Union, there's absolutely no representation on that board. And consequently, it shows because the closest county park is on Keystone at the soccer field.
Well,
go get them.
You spread the word.
I will.
Anyone else? Commissioner Lundquist.
Yeah, just to let you know that Garfield Township looked all over and could not find a township resident to be on their Parks Board, so went outside the Garfield Township to appoint somebody.
Wow, is that legal?
Yes, it is as of last night.
They
changed their ordinance.
So, I mean, so it's not always easy to find somebody that's willing to come in and be able to sit on these boards and be part of this process.
Okay.
And so it would be great if we could, but, you know, I like Chris's idea, but I also support Larry.
Yeah, I do too.
That we need to, you know, be broadening our
Well, come one, come all, and
representation.
apply.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Henschel.
In the news, Metro Fire has appointed an ad hoc committee consisting of the three township supervisors of Acme, East Bay, and Garfield to meet with the ad hoc committee from the city of Traverse City regarding possible collaboration or joining. So just heads up, they are going to get together and talk.
That's a good thing.
So,
Commissioner Lundquist.
the other announcement I have is that registration for Tour de Tarte, which is July 27th, is open, and they're looking for as many as you can, but it's cut off at 500. So if somebody wants to ride the Tour de Tarte on July 27th, you need to get your registration in yesterday if you want.
Yesterday.
501.
Commissioner Gilman.
I'm assuming we've moved into the announcements mode then.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm going to start announcing, once a month at least, I'm going to mention this. You know, September 16th this year, we had a successful event last year for the Constitution celebration downtown at the City Opera House. It was attended by over 500 people, and we had, it really went well. This year, we're moving out to the Williamsburg Dinner Theater, where we can host quite a few more people. The parking is going to be a little bit better, and we've added one particular event this year I think that might be of interest.
50-50 drawing?
No. The one thing that might be of interest is this year we have a Ms. Constitution pageant that we're going to have open from age 18 to 80.
Oh, jeez.
And I will bring more information perhaps in the next,
I'm sorry.
but
What's the date?
it's for a lot of fun. We have a float in the parade this year.
What's the date?
A float
September
in the
16th.
parade.
Yep.
And why is it that date? Or
Well,
proximity of that
it's
date?
September 17th, 1787, the Constitution was adopted. But it's the closest date. in
Right,
terms
that's what I
of-
said.
yeah.
Why the proximity?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you gave a good answer, Dave.
Mr. Thomas was present for the signing.
Yes. How was that day? Was it sunny?
How was the weather that day, Dick?
It was unseasonably cold.
Any other announcements?
Yes, I've been sitting here with my paw for 20 minutes.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas.
Tomorrow is a study session for the Committee of the Whole of the BPW, in case anybody's interested in being there.
What time?
9 o'clock.
At Garfield Township?
No.
Lafreniere?
Wait a minute. No, it's a Lafreniere.
I think it's,
Yeah.
it's like Lafreniere.
The other thing I want to mention is they had a retirement party for Bill Sedlacek this afternoon, and it was a very nice party. And they had some good food. But, yeah, it was a nice party, and I saw a lot of people I haven't seen in many years. Ken Slater, Wayne Hanna,
George
a
Washington.
whole bunch of, yeah, a whole bunch of senior citizens.
Abe Lincoln.
So, anyway, it was a nice party they had for Bill.
Very good. Who had their hand up? Commissioner Fleece?
Nobody.
I will be out of town starting the 11th through the 16th, and then again the 23rd through the 31st.
You sell my convertible?
I will also be gone the 10th through the 15th.
All right.
Well, let's see what they don't want to get past.
I'm going
what
to
we
see
can
what's
pass
going
when
on.
they're gone.
I'm smelling a motion to reconsider.
Yes.
All right.
I'm going
Okay,
to
any other comments?
I'm going to miss my second Cherry Festival in 40 years.
Wow. Is that the Boy Scouts? Good for you. Anyone else? Commissioner Henschel.
Under notices, I was speaking with a resident of Garfield Township this evening before the meeting near Garfield Road, and she asked me to specifically express her gratitude to Commissioner Max Bauer for bringing up the idea of televising our meetings, because she loves watching them.
Good. Cool. All right.
She needs a life.
Thank you.
Dave?
And speaking of televising our meetings, we're switching vendors to save money. And so it won't affect the Channel 99 or our web streams, but if you have links or bookmarks, they're going to have to be changed beginning July 1st.
Okay.
Will it be
have to do
available at
anything.
my house, Dave?
No.
That's a ways out there, isn't it?
You still get smoke signals, don't you, Larry?
No, I have it a quarter mile south, a half a mile north, but not in the strip I live in.
You'll have to move
Get a
your
long
house.
cord.
You take that
I already
personally?
moved it once. I moved it from right here in the corner of this building.
Congratulations.
That's so true.
Congratulations goes out to County Administrator Dave Benda. Doesn't have a nice sound for his first official county commission meeting of the board. And I'm glad you survived the last 30 days. And I hear things are going well. You've interviewed the commissioners, I think, already, and you're getting introduced to all the department heads, and
Yep. And I haven't met a person I didn't like yet.
all right, good.
Brian McGillivray called me this afternoon after my meeting with him, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, he survived an hour sitting with me." I said, "It's a good start."
All right, good. So any other
The
announcements?
good thing is after he met you, all he
Motion
did
to
was
adjourn.
quit.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, passes. We're adjourned.
We can't leave.
I'm way up to go back to work. Oh, hi, how are you?
Yes.
Bill signed it.
Okay.
No, somebody...